Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to our Foxhole Sunday. It's a Sunday, and we are in the academic Foxhole, and we are playing RPGs. I first off want to say thank you all for giving me a little bit of extra time to wait for our big open curtain. I was working on very exciting things that I wanted to get done so that they were ready. I'm going to show you them, and I don't know. Oh, actually, I'm pretty sure that Ari can see them too. So I'll just flash so that Ari can't see all the details. But I have been working on some very extensive digital assets because we'll probably need them for reasons.
I'm very excited.
You know, terrible reasons, excellent reasons. But I Doom. Does Knight's Black Agent use his cards? Asked Max Ryder. So I'm going to tell you, I'm really excited to introduce this game. I have run this game once before for Warp Rat for Greg. And that is Seasons of Death Autumn, which we did a 2 or 3 shot. I think it might have been a 3 shot 2 summers ago. And now we're doing another 2 or 3 shot of this. And see, I first just called it Knight's Black Agents, and then I gave it a title for mysterious reasons, which you should probably find suspicious, i.e. I'm going to do something much bigger, and we're starting the bigger thing now. I've brought in a second agent. And I just need, there are 4 seasons, so I just need 2 more. I have ideas, and I might be able to get the 3rd one in before the summer is over. I just have to get some scheduling things fixed that I'm waiting on information from, and then we may have assembled all 4 sometime soon. And I am very excited about that because then there are more plans after that. But little bit by little bit. The first bit, of course, is that I am overjoyed to have at the table with me Ari Ventures, who is so great. Yeah, just so great. There is a thing, right, that I'm on a 1,000 Discords, you know how it is? And I was on a Discord and someone was like, oh, I just GM'd a game and it was just really terrible. And like, because there was like a person who was like questionable and drained all my energy. People were like, oh yeah. And so he's like, oh yeah, if you have really good players, it just changes everything. And everything becomes amazing and wonderful. And that is true. And I know that because I have wonderful players in my orbit who are also wonderful friends and great people to share a table with. And I was talking on stream not too long ago about when I'm playing, I always try to do a little bit of, I want to do something extra because I know the GM is putting hard work in. And so I want to do my part in that process. And so I always make sure that, you know, I think about my character motivation, or I do note taking, or I do something to add value rather than just sitting around being a passive audience member, which, you know, and not everybody does that. Not everybody does the extra work to sort of add to the table. And Ari, well, actually the entirety of the Gamblers, but Ari is one of those people who always does the extra work. And before we went live, Ari said, oh, I really appreciate that you bear with me for like nerding out on you and telling you all these things about my character. And I was like, are you kidding? There's no bearing with, there's only enjoying it completely on a massive level. Ari sent me notes, sent me messages, sent me info, and I was like, great, I will use all of this to destroy you. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Great, I will use all of this to understand your character better.
Your real words came out for a second there, Trooper.
So sorry. But it's an honor, and what I will say is this, what we're about to do for the next 2 to 3 sessions is something that Ari has not done before, but I certainly have. I've done this with Knight's Black Agent solo and also with Cthulhu Confidential. And this is something really cool. This is so Gumshoe. What I'm doing right now is I'm explaining to the audience, but I'm also just letting Ari know because Ari might want to know. So Pelgrane Press. Some of the two main figures are there are Kenneth Haidt and Robin Laws, who are old school or mid school Gen X level 90s game designers, pretty big. Ken Haidt is known for his horror. Robin Laws is known for like analyzing RPGs like Shakespeare, like really sort of like really thoughtful folks with a lot of really, really smart ideas. Robin Laws did the game Over the Edge, which is this really surreal sort of RPG, which is very cool. It's like the Naked Lunch, or it's a very sort of surreal, sort of cool game, really neat ideas. And Kenneth Haidt has just done some of the most amazing horror ever. They also worked for GURPS, don't worry about it. And they were really influential in this company, Pelgrane Press. And the Pelgrane Press has done a number of things, but one of the main things they've done is the Gumshoe system. And their idea was that they wanted to make investigative games, and in their mind, because investigation is the most important thing in an investigation game, you should never roll to investigate things. You should just succeed, because if it is that important, it shouldn't be left up to a roll. And so they made this whole process of coming up with a system wherein you just don't roll for investigative things, you roll for other things, and they worked it out. And they've done a number of successful games out of it. The Esoterists, Ash and Stars, which is a sci-fi game, which I have all the books for, Trail of Cthulhu, and then this big one they come up with. And by the way, Trail of Cthulhu is related to the Cthulhu Confidential, which I also run and will be running this summer. And then Kenneth Haidt came up with Night's Black Agents. And Night's Black Agents is a mix of Jason Bourne and Dracula. It is this idea that the player characters are playing secret agents, burned secret agents, who find out about a vampire conspiracy and therefore kind of lose their jobs. And it's not great for them. And now they're trying to stop the vampire conspiracy, figure out how far it goes, and also vampires are trying to stop them, right? So it's like a conspiracy thriller. If you want to think a really good 1970s conspiracy thriller where you've got to like peel off the levels of the onion to find out how deep, a very I suppose X-Files as well, like how deep does it go, as well as being a badass super agent and secret agent, and also vampires trying to get you. So this is the setting of the world. The game is really smart and interesting. It talks to you about how to create your own vampires, how to customize them. It's cool lore, but also the mechanics are really neat. So here's the thing. It's a traditional role-playing game. Well, more or less. But not too long ago, they came up with an idea. And that was, they adapted their system, Gumshoe, to a new version called Gumshoe 1-to-1, which was specially created for one player and one GM. And I have run games with one player, one GM before, especially City of Light and Shadow. This happens, but this is designed as a system from the ground up to be for one player and one GM, which means they've really thought about what kind of mechanics they want to use, how do you create mechanics for a game where you only have one player and one GM. There is amazing GM advice about how to GM one player, one GM. Things like, you should know that in that kind of a game, it's very intense on the player because they have nobody else to bounce off things off of, right? So in a regular game, they have other players, so other players can talk while they relax. In this game, it's all them all the time. So how do you manage that? So there's it's very, very smart. It's really interesting. And to answer Max Ryder's question, this particular version of Gumshoe, the 1-to-1 version, does use cards. It uses cards in kind of interesting and innovative ways to track things. You also have a character sheet, you roll dice, all that kind of good stuff. But they have these special tokens that they've introduced with this particular model, and also these really interesting cards that they've also introduced with this particular sort of format. And I've been up for the last time period making these cards so that we have them, and making them look nicer than what you might find in the book, and be editable, and be awesome. So we've got some. And so I think we should talk about a couple of things. before we begin. Or as we begin. This is the beginning. No, I've got to do the other stuff first. Golly gee willikers. This is what happens when you get a small amount of sleep. Then you want to go and like just start jumping in before you actually do the thing you're supposed to do first. Sorry. So thank you for being here. Welcome in. I appreciate you. I appreciate that you're watching us. You can support us in many ways, and the number one way you can support us is by being here. Thank you. Here live, thank you so much. If you're watching us on YouTube, also thank you. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe. Yay. If I get enough subscribers, I think I'll be able to be monetized, but that's a long way away. But like, it's a long way. So, you know, every little bit helps. You can also retweet or reskeet our tweets and twats, our skeets and squats. Let people know that we're here so that they can come and watch us as well. You can donate tips and bits, and if you do and you leave a message, I will read that message out at the end. And you can be one of our Patreons, and all the tips and bits and Patreon stuff that comes in during the games go directly to pay the casts so that they are compensated for their time and also their wig costs, because there may be. Oh, you know what I wish
It's
right
not
had
a
right
problem
now?
if I know what it is.
Sure.
It's only 2 boxes of wigs so far. I mean, the boxes
Okay.
are the big ones, but it's only 2. And they maybe are overflowing, but it's just 2.
So I did not realize I would need this music, but I did not prep this music, so I can't just play it right now, and I really wish I could, because obviously it's necessary. But I would like you all to imagine right now that sort of very dramatic Sarah McLachlan Eyes of the Angel stuff is happening in the background, very melodramatic. You may know every day an RPG performer, player, actor, improviser falls prey to an addiction to wigs and cosplay pieces. And you can help for as little as 13 cents a day. You can help one of these actors, these players, these human beings with their wig addiction by donating to the Academic Foxhole. You will be supporting wigs, fake blood, and other strange things that people get up to without asking. In the arms of an angel. So you can give tips and bits. You can be a member of our Patreon, and it is much appreciated. Thank you very much. We have a special tier, a word from our sponsor tier, which is $200, which is meant for large corporations, none of which give us any money, but that's fine. And we have one longstanding sponsor, and that is Will and TW. There are only 4 slots. It's $200, which will pay for 4 cast members for 1 week. If you do that, you get a special spot in our credits. You get a special radio ad that will air once a month, and a special shout out to you. I think that is all of my pre-stuff. So before we get into it, I would like, I'm really excited. I would like to toss it over, before I come back to it, to our player. I want to say something really dramatic, like our lone captive who's here by themselves with no support, trapped in the dungeon of this game. Except it's not a dungeon, it's a conspiracy. Don't worry about it. Somebody who is a dear friend of mine, who was in the second RPG I ever GM'd on a stream. Somebody who I adore, the amazing, the chameleon-like, the exciting fingered from Stars Without Number, Ari Ventures. Oh yes. Could you tell us who you are, and then say nothing about your character other than their name?
Okay. Nothing.
Nothing.
Excellent. Well, if we were on stage, honestly, I would ask the audience to give a round of applause for you, because the amount of work that you have put into this thing, I know, but like, I've been so excited about this game, and then seeing as much as seeing all of the details that Trooper has been putting into place, and I haven't even seen them all, right? Let's be real. I've seen a sliver of what he's done so far. I'm very excited about that. And I know that's not what I'm supposed to be talking about, but I have the mic now. And so here we are.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
Thank
fair.
you. So thank you for having me. And I am Ari Ventures. Ari_Ventures. You can find me online in all the places. You can also find me performing live in Seattle when I am doing that. Nothing but the name. Their name is Chrys Reegan. Well, technically, their full name is Chrysanthemum Reegan, but they go by Chrys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do I also reveal the code name or no?
Yes. Yes, please.
Their code name is Prometheus.
You know what? You can reveal what agency that you worked for. Past tense.
Well, I used to work for Interpol, New Zealand specifically. And
Oh, you're Kiwi. Nice.
yeah.
Mm.
I've lived in the US for a while though. I moved over here for a specific project and then just didn't move back. So
Interesting. Interesting. So let's see. How am I going to introduce this problem? So this system is made to represent secret agents who are super badass. That is one of the things that this system does. It's kind of how it works. And we have this exciting character sheet that I made that is not finished yet, but the aesthetics are there.
it's so cool.
Yeah, it's not finished. It's not finished yet, but we're getting there. You have a range of general abilities, and in Night's Black Agents solo, each agent has all of them at 2 dice. Those are the things you have to roll. And then they have a number of investigative abilities, and they have 15 of them, but they don't have all of them. And you can see that which investigative abilities they have. It's very exciting. But would you mind telling us, and thank you for putting your edge masteries there. I'm going to make a spot for it later. But would you mind telling us what skills you have? Which investigative skills do you have? This is just what's the word? I'm stalling before I get to the most exciting part, but I just want you to have that taste of something joyful before we get to the most exciting part.
Oh my, oh my. So there are a couple that just come that come with any character in this, right? And those are, let's see, scrolling down. Those are bullshit detector, notice, charm, intimidation, reassurance, streetwise, tradecraft, urban survival, and research. Now, Chrys has an additional 6 that are their specialty, and that is accounting, vampirology, bureaucracy, cop talk, criminology, and cryptography. They know how to follow the numbers and read the codes.
Interesting.
And talk to people. Certain kinds of people.
Certain kinds of people. Interesting. Well, I suppose this is the time when I talk about more of the exciting things. So this game, as Max asked about cards, does include cards. There are a couple of different types of cards. And the cards are mostly there to keep track of assets and things, right? And every character gets to choose a starting... so let me back up. There are, generally speaking, 3 types of cards. Edge cards, which are going to give you some kind of a bonus for something you have to do later, which is great. Something positive. Awesome. Contacts. And you could just write your contacts down, but it's just a way to keep track of them. That's awesome. People that you can reach out to, get information from. Because if you noticed, they do not have all of the investigation skills. If they need somebody who's really good at something that they do not do, they can reach out to a contact and somebody who has those skills, and they can, ask them some questions. Good times. Because I feel like they don't have archaeology. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, they don't have archaeology.
So if they needed archaeology for some reason, they could go and reach out to an archaeologist, and that would be a little contact, and that's pretty cool. There are no edges or contacts on the playmat that you can see right now. This, by the way, is our Roll20 playmat. And because this game is so card heavy, I wanted you to see everything that's going on. The third type of card, though, is a problem card. Isn't that fun? I think it is. And every character gets to start with one starting problem. When you start your mission, you have a starting problem, always, always, always. But which problem you take will say something about your character. So our player is going to choose one of 4 starting cards, problem cards, to let us know something about the current moment, where we find our character and something about them. But before they choose, what I would like you to do is to read each one out loud so that everyone can know what they are. And then also I can see your reaction to them when you read them out loud. That is what I would like.
You know how hard it was not to read these? Like I read the first sentence of one already, and then I was like, Ari. So I have not read the rest of them so far. But here we go. The first sentence of the one that I read. This is called The Dark Call. When you fought that thing feeding on your friend, what you now believe was an actual vampire, it was a bloody mess. Some of its blood got into your wound and its eyes bored deep into your soul. Now you see those eyes in your dreams and hear whispers beckoning you. Okay, I really like that one. Oh, but there's 3 more. Hang on, here we go. The next one is called The Best Defense. The conspiracy, and especially that vampire who tried to kill you, are still hunting you. You need to throw them off balance to hit them when they're not expecting it. If you haven't countered this card by the end of the operation, swap it for problem number 5. Eliminate her. What's problem number 5?
Well, you'd
Oh,
find out. I bet you don't want to, though. It's one of those things that if you have problem number 5, then you'll know, but you may not want it, but it's fine.
I swear you built that specifically because you know me and my curiosity, which is like probably kills characters more than it should. Here we go. Next one. Bad dreams. For the last few nights, you've been troubled by a dream that seems far too real. Something about breaking into a house in Moscow, blood on your hands, and a man running in terror as you hunt for him. You've never been to Moscow, but then why did you find some rubles in your pocket? And why do you have some gaps in your memory?
I don't know, it's weird.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Cool. Here we go. This is the 4th one. Proving ground. Oh no. Okay. Hang on. I'm gonna get a serious face. Here we go. You've made tentative contact with some old friends at MI6, promising information about a conspiracy. They're suspicious of you, considering what lies Interpol has been telling about you, but they haven't shut you out entirely. If you don't produce some useful intel by the end of this operation, swap this problem for problem number 6, hunted by MI6. I do appreciate the fact that problem number 6 is hunted by MI6, but I just appreciate that.
Yeah, you know.
Oh God.
I need my pipe. I need my pipe, by the way. While you're agonizing, I have to find my psychologist pipe for reasons that people who watched Night's Black Agent's Autumn know exactly why, but it should be right over here. Hold on. Pick your card.
Okay. Oh man. Okay, this is so hard because I want
all of them.
Yes.
I know. See, some players are like, oh, I don't want any problem cards. But some players are like, I want all of the problem cards. Those are the players that I love best.
Okay, this is so hard because I want to know what is at the end of all of these. I know. Okay, so I'm narrowing it down. I'm narrowing it down to the best defense or the dark call. Thanks. That's exactly it, Hawkeye. That's 100% it. Actually, can I like open this up to chat and just ask which one they would like me to go with, either the dark call or the best defense?
You cannot open up to chat until I put up an
Okay.
official poll. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Let me
Okay,
put on
okay,
an
okay,
official
okay.
poll. That's the way this is going to go. New poll.
Because I want them both. I can't decide. I want all of them realistically. What if I take two problems, Trooper? What if I this is a bad no, let's not do that. That's a bad idea. No, 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 don't listen to me.
Which is the best problem? Problem 1 is dark call.
Mhm.
Vampire eyes, we'll call that. Vampire
Nice.
eyes
Yeah.
in your soul. We'll just say vampire eyes. And the other one you're thinking
And
about
whispering.
is
The conspiracy, best defense. So the vampire, I either need to counter the card or I'm gonna have to have problem number 5 eliminate her.
defense. Conspiracy. Conspiracy. And I'm going to make this a 2-minute poll.
Perfect.
It's starting right now. At this moment, it is starting. So here's the thing. I need to ask you questions about your character because this is where we're at in this,
Okay.
this part in the
Okay.
game. But I
I'm
cannot
ready.
ask you them unless I have my psychologist's pipe, especially since your character has been in the United States, clearly traveling the world. But since you've been in the United States especially, I need my psychologist pipe very specifically before I can ask you in-character questions. Or
Oh, that's
kind of weirdly out of character questions, or are they? But I always have my psychologist pipe right here. It's hanging out on my desk, and I just cleaned my. This is why you don't clean your desk, everybody. You don't clean your desk
this is
because then you
exactly
can't
why.
find your psychologist pipe. Talk to them while I look on my count on my there.
Hello, lovely peoples. Let's see. I wish I could see like what's actually happening with the poll because I'm very curious. I love the other two, but I felt like I needed to narrow it down to one of two options here. And I do think Max called it out. I think I'm either looking to be hunted by vampires or I might be haunted by being a vampire. That's the way I'm reading these cards, but I don't know. I don't know what's in Trooper's mind. I don't know all the things. Oh, my wig is sliding back. Oh, probably because I tried to put my glasses through it.
I found it. I put it
Excellent.
away for reasons I do not understand. We do still have a few moments left in our poll. I don't know
Ooh.
why I'd put things away in their places, because if I do that, then I can't find it, obviously.
Right.
That's weird.
That's such a this wig is trying to I'm trying to eat the wig. That's how much I love the wig.
Oh,
Just
is
trying
it
to eat it.
tasty?
It's so tasty. It actually feels like very soft human hair. Like this is I have a couple of favorites.
Oh.
I'm not gonna lie. I play wig favorites. And this is one of my favorites already.
The results of the poll are in, by the way. By an overwhelming majority, vampire eyes. The dark call.
Okay. Oh, yay. Okay, perfect. Oh, that's so exciting. Especially because especially because where it came from.
Is it exciting? Oh, it is.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure Chrys isn't excited by this.
I mean,
Ari is.
I'm excited. So, you have chosen your starting problem. With your starting problem chosen, I need to make sure this is exactly where I want it. And not use this one. We're going to just delete those other problems because they're not problems for you right now. At least right now.
You say right now as if they can come back.
Well,
can they come back?
Always get problems. This right here, I need you to note, is my therapist's pipe. This.
Are we going into therapy right now?
Why would you say that? Do you think we're in therapy right now?
Well, I certainly didn't sign up for therapy right now.
Well, you may not have signed up for it, but sometimes when difficult things happen, your employer insists that you see a therapist, especially if your job involves violence.
So you're saying this is another mandated therapy session. All right, I'm here.
Now,
Again.
again, you know, I don't normally see desk agents in my office as often.
Well, I have a good job. What can I say?
You seem to be a bit more vigorous than your regular desk agent.
It's important to pursue the clues that you find. This is my job, is to figure things out. So I do. It just
Is
so happens to take
hmm,
me further than other people want to go.
further than other people want to go. Interesting. That's an interesting turn of phrase that you use there. I've been looking at your files, the files on you. You go further than you're supposed to go quite often, it seems, here.
I get the job done.
Mm,
I figured out Scaramucci.
you did. Made you some enemies.
Sure.
If they would have known it were you, which luckily for you, being behind a desk, they didn't know.
The advantage of being good at numbers. Nobody
Hmm.
really looks at you. They just look past you and hope you don't start talking about a derivative.
You know, I see a lot of agents come through my office. It's the perks of actually having a security clearance. You get to do this work with very interesting people. And I'm always reminded how it was people like you who took down Al Capone in the end, not some sort of James Bond.
I count it as a source of pride, honestly. Everyone thinks that they can run and hide, but the numbers never lie.
Mm. That's
You
true.
work with other people. That's interesting. What,
I,
anyone from my office?
I work with people from all of the offices.
Just an Interpol?
No, not just an Interpol.
So you're like a consultant. Interesting.
There are not many people who are therapists with the highest clearances.
So you have a security clearance of 5.
I do. Uh, Plus special compartmentalized information.
Oh,
You're
interesting. What kind
deflecting.
of Sure, why not? Who doesn't deflect?
So I'd like to talk to you about whether or not you're having any nightmares about what happened recently.
I don't see why what happens in dreams is relevant. It's not numbers, it's not reality. It's simply a byproduct of a mind running wild.
Hmm. But the subconscious, is where many things work themselves out, where your mind is trying to get through to you, to the defenses, to make you notice.
Or you ate a bad burrito and your brain is trying to warn you that food poisoning sucks.
Hmm. You are not currently working with Interpol anymore, is that correct?
Yeah, that was odd. My badge didn't work. And
What do you mean? I feel like there's something here that I don't quite understand. I have vague memories of this, but it's not exactly in the records.
and
You're on a
everything in here
case.
is off the record.
Yes. right now, in this moment, nothing you say to me, anyone could ever know. It would be impossible.
I walked in 2 days ago and my badge didn't work. You know, walked through those big white doors with the glass handles.
Mm.
Tried to swipe my badge and it didn't work. And I turned around and some of those coats were headed my way. And you know how you just get that feeling? Like you don't want to stick around anymore. Like if you stick around, then the consequences you're about to deal with are not going to be pleasant.
Yes, but why would that be happening in your own office?
I don't
The
have
coats.
answers. I'm just telling you.
I know, but they're questions on your mind, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why would they even want to arrest someone like me? Especially, I mean, that's clearly what it was. It's very clearly what it was. Maybe it wasn't. But also Arthur hasn't returned any of my texts except to say, "Where are you?"
Hmm. Have you
Usually,
contacted him?
well, I sent him a text message after my badge didn't work and I ran and slipped through the subway. I didn't think they could run so fast in those blue suits, but
I'm sorry. Do you say that you texted him when your badge didn't work, and that was before the blue suits showed up? Is that right?
yeah, it was the badge stopped working. I
Hmm.
sent him a text, saw the suits, ran for the subway. I
Hmm.
slipped onto the J train. That's how I was able to get away. And that's also when I saw his response text.
Hmm.
Where are you? Not any sort of clarification, not you're fired, just where are you?
Hmm. But that's not all that happened. Wait, you were on a case, right? Yes.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah,
it?
I was
Sam
Lenko.
Lenko. That's right. That's right. Uh, International Criminal Cartel, yes?
Yeah, that's what the money seems to say. It
Drugs,
was really close.
guns.
Anything you can imagine, they can traffic.
Trafficking things from Europe to the Middle East to Asia to Central America to the United States to the UK. Very wide ranging. Very wide ranging.
Global, you might say.
It'd be an amazing case to crack. Lanka's been interesting for some time.
So close. But there was this file out of there that was just, it didn't tie to anything else, and usually the numbers tie somewhere. You can track that this particular deposit bounced from this account to this account to this account, and it ultimately landed in the Swiss account, right? Like, but this one wasn't tied to anything else. It was locked behind a bunch of encryption keys and different names. I've never seen an account like that before. Trying to get a hold of the data off of it, just the ledger, was a whole thing in and of itself.
But it wasn't connected to Lanko's regular operations. Seems strange.
I I thought it had to be, though. I mean, that much security, that much protection, that has to be Sam Lanko, Who else is it going to be? There's no other mafia that has that kind of reach right now, at least that we believe has any kind of reach right now.
Right. But it was a separate set of books attached to Linko
I think so.
with other names.
Attached is a strong word.
Hmm.
I think it has to be attached to Linko, but I don't have. It's not really attached to anything. It's just one of the most secure and quiet moves of money I've ever seen in my career.
Strange. But then, after your badge didn't work, I'm seeing here something else happened.
Well, my entire apartment building blew up that night. That was
Gas
odd.
leak?
That's what they're saying.
I'm
I'm lucky I wasn't in there. Well, I believed it until my badge didn't work this morning. And until I got chased by a bunch of suits. But now I'm well, until last night I was wondering if Sam Lenko had infiltrated Interpol, but
possible. He has a lot of money. He could bribe someone. You said until last night you thought that. What do you think now? And what changed your mind?
well, I went to Lana and Pete's place.
Ah, yes, Lana and Pete.
I needed somewhere to crash, and like she's the only family I've got. Well, I know, not biological family, but she's my family.
Yes. The look in our eyes was, please, this is your story. Go on.
It was, I thought I was just going to go over and crash for the night. Because, Interpol doesn't know about her.
They don't.
Why would they? Not biological family, keeps her out of everything. It's not like anyone's coming after an accountant anyway, but still,
Yes.
just in case, keeps her safe. So I didn't even text. I just showed up, but the door was open. There was so much blood. There was so much blood just everywhere. And I've never seen her so pale. And he was just crouched over top of her like a You're gonna think I'm crazy.
It's not my job to judge.
Vampire. She just
What makes you think it was a vampire and not a hitman?
Well, hitmen don't tend to crouch over their victims right at the neck. I tried to pull him off of her. His mouth was just, it was just all blood all down the front and hers. It was her. It was her build. It's her blood. And then he started to come after me. I just I'm no weapons expert. I don't know. I'm just lucky that I had enough hand-to-hand training to be able to dodge him. He was so fast.
Are you sure it was a vampire? That's not a logical thing to believe, and you are very logical.
No, it's not logical, but when Occam's razor. What else am I supposed to believe?
Could be somebody on PCP, angel dust, someone on drugs. Bath
I've
salts.
seen that look. He was in his right mind. And he was coming for me. Honestly, I probably shouldn't even be here.
No, you're safe here.
I just needed somebody to talk to.
It's all right.
So how can... And it makes me wonder, those books. Those
The
books.
ones you've been reading since you've been a kid, yes?
All of the hallmark signs. I mean, it was at night, there was no sun. All the
Fangs,
blood. Fangs.
claws.
Her eyes, the pupils were dilated. That's what happens when you're thralled.
Mm. Your pupils are a little bit dilated right now.
My stress is high. I'm sure it's that.
I'm sure too. If you're sure, I'm also sure.
I'm sure. Couldn't be anything else.
How did you get out? They're fast.
Lana had a crucifix on the wall.
Mm.
It was the only thing close enough, so I used it like a dagger. I don't think I hit anything vital, but I definitely slowed him long enough for me to get out the door.
You got hit though, didn't you? In the process.
Yeah, that's what this is. And they'll hold up their arm where there's like a bandage over. You could still kind of see like the tattoo of their sleeve tattoo on either side of the bandage, but like the bandage itself is like, it hasn't soaked entirely through with blood, but there's like that line where it's clear that there was like a long scrape that happened along their arm. And they said, this is the third bandage I've tied on. It's just not coagulating, right?
Probably some sort of...
Which would make sense.
Enzyme.
Yeah, if you're drinking blood, you want to make sure that it doesn't turn into a bunch of clots in your mouth.
That's true. That would be inconvenient.
Keep seeing those eyes. Those deep pools just staring back at me every time I close mine. I'm sure it's a bad burrito, though.
Remember someone else. A different agent, speaking of vampires.
Who?
I don't remember.
I need you to. I mean, what if we look at your records? I mean, if there's somebody else who's experienced this, then wouldn't it be good for me to talk to them?
Well, I'm afraid your time is almost up.
No, I've got to figure out what happened. I'm not going to let Lana die in vain like that. I'm not going to let them destroy my entire life and just get away with it.
What about
whether
Lee?
It's vampires or Sam or whoever the hell it is? I'm going to take those fuckers down.
You said that. You said
I
that the
mean it.
last time we spoke. You've been saying that a lot
Like
recently.
I said. What, that I'm going to take them down?
Yes.
You know me. I go above and beyond the other agents. I don't stop.
You only saw Lana in the apartment. You didn't see Pete or Lee.
There were blood trails leading out of other rooms. He was so... Leah was just 6. How do you kill a 6-year-old kid? Why don't you just face me like a man?
But you never saw a body. Maybe they're all right.
That thing came at me so fast.
Hmm.
You think there's any way anyone else in that house is left alive? You're an optimistic fool.
Hmm. Or would you prefer to believe that they were dead? Because then you don't have any responsibility to try to find them. You can concentrate only on revenge.
If I find the people who did this, then I'll probably find them if they're still alive, but I don't think they are. What do you mean, this idea of them potentially still being alive? You weren't there. You didn't see this thing. It was faster than humanly possible.
Yes. That sounds right. That sounds about how it went down, I think. Yes, I believe that.
I'm glad you believe me. I wasn't sure you would.
Of course.
I was pretty sure you were
going
to prescribe me some sort of antipsychotics.
No. No. That's not really what this is. This place here, you can always come here to talk to me whenever you want to.
What if they are alive?
I imagine you've been thinking about it. I mean, I know you have.
I gotta find some way to get back into that house. There has to be a clue somewhere in there. And I gotta do it without being seen.
Yes, but right now you're so far away from there. And it's been a few weeks. And look at your arm. The bandage has got that sort of, the blood itself is sort of that kind of brown, ruddy dryness as if the wound has been a bit of a time ago.
They'll like pull it off. And I imagine it looks like it's probably at this point, it's going to be a nice long like scar sort of thing.
Scabbed over some.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long have you been waiting here for your target?
I thought it was just a day, but
Well,
and they'll like pick up their phone, which is not their original phone. It's a burner phone now.
there's no
and
reception.
Look at the date. Oh, there's no reception, but can they see the date?
No. It's weird because always you can find out what's going on your phone, but right now it's just as if your phone is dead. It's like a kind of like a ghost of a phone.
What's today's date?
I don't really know. Not certain, actually. It's hard to tell. Well, before we end our session, there are a few more details. The paperwork that you had. The book, the strange books, the ones disconnected.
Yeah. I'm calling them the
financial-
Infinity books.
The Infinity books. Yes, I liked that name. I thought that was a good one. But you noticed that money was being moved from place to place.
Yeah. Through Cyprus and then through London.
And there was evidence of money, goods, items, going to London, out of London, Budapest.
Yeah.
Moscow.
A lot flowing around Moscow.
And there was a name in those papers. Francesca Curtis was the name you told me.
Yeah. No idea what she looks like, but she's the one who's been signing off on everything.
Yes. And you told me that from the details, you figured she was a bagman, a messenger, a courier of some sort.
That's what I think. Or at least that code name is.
And she met with Samlenko on more than one occasion.
Seems like that's why I think the books must be tied to Sam.
That's on one end, but what's on the other end of the rope? What's in the other end of her journey? Where she takes things from or to Sam, but to whom? It's not any of the other criminal contacts.
This whole thing started with those books. You're saying it's been weeks since that happened?
Yes. How else did you get to Spain?
I don't remember.
My notes here say that you've done some research on Francesca Curtis already.
Yeah.
Says here, she's an investment analyst for a small private bank in London. She seems on the up and up, at least officially, but then why is she meeting with Samlenko?
Nobody who meets with Samlenko is on the up and up. They're either undercover or they're involved. So, do my notes say anything about where she was last? I'm sorry,
Oh.
I've got this blank chunk in my memory.
Well, my notes here, and he picks up his notepad, but it sort of looks like your notepad. Seems like you went to London, met with some of your contacts from MI6, and you asked them for some information on Francesca Curtis. Who
Did I tell you what I found?
was this contact? You didn't tell me their name.
Oh. MI6, that probably would have been Dwayne Carlsberg.
Yes. He's nice.
We get along?
You trust him enough to reach out to him when you're being wanted across multiple cities for... What did they say you did?
Selling secrets. I would
Selling
never.
secrets. No, you wouldn't. I know that about you. I know a lot about you, as a matter of fact. But I want you to feel comfortable. My notes here say that you went to London. You reached out to Dwayne. You asked him to get information on Francesca Curtis for you. You made promises. You said something about a conspiracy. I don't remember if you said vampire or not.
No.
Did you?
I've avoided
No.
that word.
Ah, smart. I wouldn't say it out loud to just anyone. Most people, well,
One handy antipsychotics.
or that's that's if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, well, they'll believe you.
You believe me.
Yes, that's different. So, you, got information from Carlsberg saying that she was on her way to, this is what you said in my notes, to Girona, Spain, an ancient city, popular tourist destination, medieval walls and churches. It's beautiful. Galleries, cafes. That she was on her way there for some reason to this tourist place. Ah, no, my notes. Ah, I can't always read my handwriting. It says here that you followed the money. I don't know how you got access to that, actually, but,
We don't need to talk about that.
She's staying in the Hotel Historic. Huh. Small, high-end hotel in the center of the city. There's a cafe across from this hotel. My notes say that she's been here for a few days, that you have been observing her for the last, what does it say here? One moment. You have been observing her from this cafe across the street of the Hotel Historic for the last 4 days. Is that so?
Now that you say that, it rings a bell.
Let me see. Says here, there are times here, timestamps, comings and goings. Oh, these are your notes. Well, it's my handwriting, but these seem to be your notes. Say that she looks like she's here on vacation, but you don't believe it. She's acting like a tourist. She's sightseeing, she's going to galleries, cafes, she's dining out, she's relaxing by the pool. What is this? This is an odd note. How did you find out this? It says here that every day that she's been here so far, she checks reception. She asks them if a package has been delivered for her. Or something. She's asking for delivery. She's waiting for something or someone. Every day.
It's easy to find out what people in a hotel do as soon as you befriend the staff.
I guess that's so. You don't think she's a tourist? Or that she's really here for tourism?
Someone like her who's checking for a package every day? No, there's no way. It's either tied to Sam or it's tied to the vampires, and...
Vampires?
I don't know which.
Vampires. That is so familiar to me. I do recall another agent talking about vampires in this office.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Oh.
You said not from Interpol, though.
No. An American.
An American agent?
Yes, I believe so. No.
CIA? No. FBI? NSA?
I'm having a hard time remembering, actually. My memory gets a little fuzzy here. Well, I would love to stay with you here, but your waiter's coming to give you your order. Espresso, was it?
Yeah. Every morning.
When you look up, you're at the cafe. You're not in the therapist's office. You're at this small little cafe right outside of the Hotel Historic. And there's already a cup of espresso there, almost empty, a little bit cold. What bit of food, if any, is at this small table that you're at on the outside of this cafe, this outdoor cafe?
Chrys probably would have ordered, they probably would have, I'm trying to remember what Spanish breakfasts are like. I feel like those
Ooh.
are, it's not pastries like France, but I think there are pastries. It is like a
Mhm.
sweeter pastry kind of thing typically.
Mm.
I could be
Oh,
wrong,
yeah.
but that's what
Yeah.
Chrys has. It's like one of
Mm.
those nice like sweet
Mhm.
pastries that's filled with a
Mhm.
bunch of cream.
Yeah.
And you know, like it's got like there's not a bunch of like sugary stuff on the outside, but there's a dusting on the outside.
So you're at this cafe outside of the Hotel Historic in Girona, Spain, waiting, observing your quarry. Do you have any questions before I ask you some? As you sit
Mm.
here and you know that Francesca Curtis, staying at this hotel, your therapist told you that you tracked her down and have been casing the joint for the last few days. Your therapist.
Interesting therapist.
It must have
Interesting.
been a memory of being in therapy with your therapist.
Oh,
Obviously.
I'm sure that that's what that was.
Uh-huh.
I do have questions for you.
Yes.
And I hate to do this, but I need to do a bio break real fast. I will be right
Well,
back.
wait, no.
Okay.
Because right now it's actually exactly the break point. We are in
Oh.
we're in our break moment. So you can't go yet because I have to actually make the official break.
Oh,
So
okay. Would you like me to answer these questions before we do that? Or
no.
would you
But I'm going to introduce the mechanic. So in this game, because you never roll for your investigative skills, you just have to use them. And so in this moment, and when we come back from break, we're going to come back to Chrys being at this cafe, having spent some time observing their quarry, Francesca Curtis. And this is the moment where our agent can use their skills to ponder what they've sort of sussed out or what they're thinking about. But before that happens, we have to go on break. And I don't think I can answer what's up with their therapist, but that's a whole different question for a different time. We're going to take a 10-minute break. When we come back, I feel like there might be some questions. We will be right back, everybody. Take 10, drink, hydrate, and stretch your legs. And we are back. Hello, we're back. So we've got we had in the first half we had our wonderful agent have a session with their therapist to talk about what has happened in their life in the last few weeks. And this is a work therapist, so authorized to hear top secret information, and talked about their life since they have been kicked out of their work and are being hunted by their work. But that's fine. I do have some questions to ask you about your mission here. Um, Francesca Curtis, maybe being some sort of courier or messenger, probably is a good source of intel. Um, but before I did sort of get into that conversation, I just wanted to ask you a question because I don't have it in my notes. Um, this therapist of yours, had you seen this therapist? How many times had you seen this therapist before all of this?
I think that Chrys probably saw this therapist. Okay, I'm gonna do something and let me know if this is inappropriate. Um,
I feel like almost nothing is inappropriate. I've got my notebook.
okay, perfect. So here's my thought. Chrys has never seen this therapist before
Mm-hmm.
until
Mm-hmm.
the interaction that we just saw. But
Sure.
when they think about the therapist,
Mm-hmm.
they have a whole year's
Mm-hmm.
worth of meetings in their head
Mm-hmm.
with this
Uh,
therapist.
how do I respond to what you just said? That is exceptionally appropriate.
Oh, good. Yay. Also, oh no. Oh dear.
That is an exceptionally appropriate answer, and I take it and I say, "Oh yeah, mm-hmm, mm-hmm." I also would have taken that you saw them just once, but you also remember them seeing them multiple times. But also, both of these things work really well. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I
Sure.
leave it up to you if the memories that they have of seeing this therapist
Mm-hmm.
are real memories or not. Hey, wandering DM. Hello. Welcome in.
May I add a detail to what you've given me?
Oh, please, always.
This year's worth of therapist memories that you have,
Mhm.
they would not have started until after you found the Infinity Ledger.
Yes, 100%.
And probably not immediately, but like just a little bit after you found this ledger, I think is when your memories of having these meetings with the therapist would have started. Yes, if that works for you.
That absolutely works for me. I'm taking notes. I'm taking all the notes.
And your therapist has always promised complete um, confidentiality, always. And nobody has ever, like, as far as you know, nobody's ever, um, he's never said anything to anybody. It's patient client confidentiality. Um, he also has a annoying, exciting, I don't know, habit of often voicing some of the questions you've been having inside of your head. You know, like you're like, oh, I wonder if it's this, right? I wonder if this thing happened. And very often he's able to, let's say, intuit some of those questions you might be having, but not articulating out loud, and then asking you about them because he's a very good therapist. You know what I mean? Like he's just very good at his job.
Like the question of whether or not Lee and Pete and Lana are actually still alive by some long shot.
Yeah.
Um, Even though all logic says
Yeah.
they must be dead.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weirdly like, it's not, because that would be too easy. It's like you're talking to yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're like you have
Yeah.
yourself as a sounding board, but not, because it's a therapist whose office you visit and have done for the last year.
Whose office also somehow becomes the cafe that I'm sitting in.
It's just probably remembering it weird. So,
I'm sure, yeah, there's gaps in the memory
yeah, yeah,
lately.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I will note that there were not gaps in your memory until after that situation with the dude on PCP over at Lon and Pete's. You never had any gaps before then, but you have memories of meeting this therapist in an office like a regular person before that moment. Just thought I'd. Uh, Sometimes he has good suggestions. This therapist.
Yeah. Very
They,
insightful sometimes, kind of like your subconscious, where
yeah,
you
sort
wake
of.
up and you've solved the
Yeah.
problem. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
But then sometimes he alludes to things that you couldn't know.
How is that possible? Oh, I mean, it makes perfect sense. He's not
Because he's a
me. So,
therapist. Yeah,
yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
So
Obviously.
weird. Obviously. So let's just ignore your therapist for a while because I mean you're in Girona, Spain, so it's not like you're going to see him again or anything like that. By the way, just tell me if you ever want to talk to your therapist. Just let me know.
It's that easy.
No,
Oh, it's like,
but
oh,
just tell me when you feel like you want to talk to your therapist, and I'll just note it.
good to know. Good to know.
I
Okay.
mean, I'm just in the if your kid is like, man, I just wish I were back in my hometown where I've been living, where my therapist is, so I could see them. Then you should just let me know that you're feeling that way, and I'm just gonna, just as a note to just know about you, like your, how committed you are to the therapeutic process. That's the only reason why I want to know.
I mean, oh yeah, no, totally. I 100%
Yeah,
agree. I
yeah,
believe you
yeah,
right now. Yeah.
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 Because I'm totally not lying because it's more amusing. If as long as I lie in a very obvious way, so that's actually not what's happening. Because I find that hilarious. So you're out there in this cafe in front of this hotel where this woman Francesca Curtis, who's a banker, investment analyst, has been staying for the last 4 days, and from your observations that she has been bugging the reception staff for a package every day. Let me ask you, because in this game we do not roll for investigative things, but you have to tell me what skills you're doing. Tell me what you've been doing in the last 4 days, and what your plans are. Tell me what questions you have based on your expertise as as a as an Interpol analyst.
So I think
I
one of the things that
I
they,
do have one thing I can tell you first, though. Before you give me
ooh,
this question,
okay,
I do
I'm
have one
ready.
thing.
Yes, please.
Trade your skills. I believe you have the skill tradecraft, yes?
Tradecraft. I do. Yes.
So tradecraft is your skill of espionage, but also about knowing things about espionage-ish behavior, right? It's like your tradecraft is a thing like I know how to do it, but I also know things about it, and I know people who do it.
Mm.
You're able to sort of suss things out, and you don't have to ask me this question because I'm going to tell you that you already know this because of you have the skill. If you didn't have the skill, I wouldn't tell you, but you do, so I will. Um, what this pattern suggests to you, at least your initial thing, you can ask more questions later, is that you do not get the feeling that this woman knows the bigger picture. Her behaviors, her patterns, the fact that she's waiting on this package, um, gives you the sense that she's probably being kept in the dark. That, and especially you're looking at the patterns of her moving money around. You've seen this before so many times. People who are couriers very often do not know what they're couriering and may not even have all of the details. It's a form of plausible deniability, right? She is expendable, but she may not know it, right? So, if this is an important package, she's a courier, that means she's probably going to hand deliver it to whomever it's supposed to go to, because you would not be sending somebody here in person unless this is something that has to be hand delivered and probably important. But she may or may not know what she's delivering, but she probably does still have intelligence that will be useful, even if she doesn't know it, you know?
Mm. Hmm.
So tell me about what Chrys does and Chris's approach and what questions you have.
So I think some of it I
And what
alluded
skills you want to use.
to. Okay. I think some of it I alluded to with the therapist in that
Mm-hmm.
they've been using charm on the
Yes.
hotel
Mm-hmm.
staff
Mm,
to have the hotel staff. In fact, they've asked the hotel staff, and I'd like to
mm,
think that,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know if I need to roll for this, so let me know. But I'd like to think that their charm has been they've the things they've been trying to get the hotel staff to do with this charm are um let them know about Francesca's comings and goings,
Mm,
um,
mm-hmm.
and let them know when the package arrives from
Mm-hmm.
Francesca and who it's
Mm-hmm.
coming from. If there's
Mm-hmm.
like, because it's been delivered by a male
Mm-hmm.
person, and if it
Mm-hmm.
isn't delivered by a formal mail carrier, like they basically just
Mm-hmm.
want to they're asking the hotel staff to look out for when the packages arrived, who did it come from?
Mm-hmm.
What did they look like? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what
So
Francesca's comings and goings are.
yeah. I see you. So
Cool.
this is an interesting thing. Um, when you talk to the hotel staff, uh, many of them are. I mean, you've got a kind of like an interesting mix of people who work there behind the hotel staff. This is a very expensive boutique hotel,
Mm,
um,
mhm.
pricey, pricey hotel. If you're going to get tourists, they're going to be. By the way, I wore my blood red shirt for you. Um, if there are picked it specifically for today. Um, so you're going to get kind of like an interesting mix of some younger college students. Um,
Mm,
and then like some people who've been in the business for quite some time and really know their stuff. Like it's kind of like an interesting mix of folks. And the young college students are all very attractive, right? It's like attractive college students and like 39-year-olds who have been doing hospitality for quite some time, right? It's just kind of uh, the staff are good, right? But when you come to speak to them, like let's say that there's a young woman who's probably in her early 20s, and you have made contact with her multiple times. What story do you give when you talk to her? You notice she tends to be on the morning shift, which is when uh, Francesca Curtis comes to get the package or checks, right, over and over again.
mhm, mhm.
What is your story?
I let her know that I am um Francesca's mother's assistant.
Oh,
And Francesca's mother is very involved in Francesca's affairs. And so I am there to make sure that everything happens right. But it's very important that that Bella, this hotel staff, doesn't say anything to Francesca because that always sets off anger between mother and daughter. And so if she could just keep this on the down low, but please let me know everything because I have to tell her mother and it's a whole thing. And if you know how rich people are, if they even catch a whiff that like I am not giving her all of the information, then my job is done. And I don't want you to be on the fallout of that either.
of
Like,
course, yeah, of course.
so
Uh,
if you could just, oh, thank you so much. I'm so
sure.
sorry.
No, it's all right. I'm here on my summer abroad. It's a great place. I mean, I love Spain. I'm studying Spanish in the uni, and
Oh yeah.
always it's my. I wanted to go to Catalan, but this place is beautiful. I mean, it's so medieval. Yeah, the city walls. I don't know if you've been out and about, but it's really lovely. Um, less lovely
No, no, I
is
haven't.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. Less lovely is your
Really.
friend, uh, Miss Curtis. She's a bit of a handful. That's what I'd say.
So was her mother, unfortunately.
Uh, well, she comes every morning. She shows up. She asks me if the package has arrived yet. and I
Of course.
tell her that it has not arrived, and then she yells at me. But I'm
Oh,
not in charge of the packages. Like, I'm not. It's not my fault that whoever it is that she's waiting for this package from hasn't delivered it. But that she
Christ.
complains and she goes on and on about how it's already late and she can't do what she needs to do unless she gets it and how she have had it. And oh, she just goes on and on. It's actually really. And then she demands to use our phone here at the reception desk so she can make
Not
some
her
phone.
own phone? How
No,
rude.
I know that she makes some call to London every single time the package doesn't come to complain about not getting it. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like yeah,
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry you have to deal with her. Does it help to know that her mother is about the same?
I'm sorry that you have to deal
Yeah,
with something similar. That's
isn't it
don't.
frustrating though?
It is, and I don't know what sort of package that she wants that's so important that she's got to go and yell at me every morning, and I only just had me coffee and everything.
You're telling me, and for some reason, her mother wants to know who it's coming from and when she's going to get it. And that says you get the whole rigmarole of the whole mother-daughter overbearing thing. You know what? You know what might help though.
Hmm.
I mean, if it's not too much trouble. Uh, you said she makes the calls to London from your phone. Would you happen to have the number that she's calling by any chance? If I could give her mother something, perhaps she'll get off my back and I'll get less of a
Oh,
berating this morning.
well, I don't know. Now, out of character, I'm going to note that you're using your charm skill for this.
Hmm.
Now, I will say, just for the audience to know, uh, if you use an appropriate skill, you are going to get the information if the information is uh, a clue, relevant, or a red herring. Like you could not ask this woman to give you information on the lottery because that's not related to the operation, right?
Right.
Um, if
I
you
can't get the winning numbers.
cannot get the winning letters from the lottery, if you wanted this woman to do something that might get her fired, that is probably going to be a push. If you wanted
Mhm.
this woman to get you a gun for some reason, that also she's not the person to ask. But also that would be a push, something like this, and you have three pushes that you can use. But so far, nothing you have asked is outside of the bounds of information gathering for this operation. But also, it's not just information. You can also ask people to do things for you that will get you information, right? Or get you access to
Mhm.
information. Like, for example, asking for the phone number, right? These are all things that are all within the realm of the information gathering of that you're using to charm. And I will note that charm is good. If you had chosen to use intimidate, that would not have been a good skill, and that would have not you would not have that would have freaked her out, right? But you went with charm. Some people you might
Fair.
want to use intimidation with, right? Some people you might want to use just a good charm with. So just I'm just letting people know because the thing is we are RPing this, but there are mechanics that are underlying all of this that are happening, and I just want you all to know it. So she says, "Well, I don't quite know," but she says, she I don't know the number itself. It's not like I can't trace things like that. But I
Oh,
can
of
tell you
course
that
not.
no, but um I do know that when she calls, she tries to get connected to a Hollister Consulting. Um I know that she keeps calling a Hollister Consulting in London. That's all I
Yes.
know. She keeps asking for Mr. Hollister, and Mr. Hollister doesn't seem to come to the phone, so I think she's getting the secretary quite a lot. Uh, but she seems to be quite desperate for whatever this package is. That she's mostly mad. It seems like because she once said like she's got a job to do, and she was asked to do this job by Mr. Hollister, and but now Mr. Hollister's not giving her the package that she needs. So how's she supposed to do the job? There's and she says she's got a bit of a
Oh my
deadline,
goodness.
and she doesn't want to be waiting about because something's happening soon. But she can't do whatever the thing she needs to do until she gets the package. Uh,
No, of course.
yeah, she also seems quite irritated when she comes in the evenings. Uh, I try to say, you know, hello and all that, but uh, she seems very stressed out, is I suppose the best way to put
Uh,
it.
Is it the sort of like, when a tourist is very stressed out and they're coming in and they're, um, it's been a long day and they're tired and they haven't had enough to eat, or maybe they've had too much sweets and then they've hit their, that awful lull. Is it that sort of stressed out, or is it worse? You know what I mean.
It's a good question. All I know is if you're going to go and do a lot of sightseeing and enjoying yourself, I think you'd be a little bit less stressed out than you are. Uh, hmm. Let me see if I can find that phone number. Give me a moment.
Oh,
And
sure.
Bella sort of heads out to the back.
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
She's not at the desk,
Hmm.
but this is a very bougie, boutique-y sort of hotel that really goes for a whole ambiance, including, her computer's there, the books are there, the records are there, all there at
Mm.
the desk. She's gone back to see, she's checking, what you can tell is she's going back to see, to check the, like, they have parcels and packages in the back, right? Because they have their
Hmm.
sort of place where they do sort of letters and packages and parcels. And it looks like she's just double checking to see if the parcels come in so that maybe she can give you some information because you've been
Oh,
so
yeah.
kind. But
Hmm.
she is currently not here. Um, would you like to try and swipe a look at these records,
Is
the
there
hotel
anybody
records?
else? Is there anyone else in the lobby right now?
Yes, but many of them are tourists, not necessarily paying attention. You'd have to make a roll.
Mm, okay. Um, from my angle, because often, when you're standing at a
Mm-hmm.
hotel room, or you're like checking in or whatever, you can kind of,
Mm-hmm.
if you stand a little to the side of the desk, you can see
Mm-hmm.
the screen just slightly. So am I able to see, did she lock before she left?
Um, so you have two skill choices here, filch
Okay.
and infiltration.
Hmm.
Infiltration will let you do a little bit of getting through that computer kind of quickly if you could. Uh, you're not allowed in there. You'd have to do a little bit of button pressing, and filching would let you grab the sort of grab the ledger and do a quick flip through subtly without people noticing, but you'd have to succeed.
Okay. So, oh, but that's right. You said all of the books are out there, like the ledgers of check in, check out, that kind of information is there.
Yeah, you'd have to pull the
Um,
book, get through it, see if you can find her as quickly as possible before anyone sees you or she returns.
I'm gonna try and filch.
Going for the books rather than the computer. All right. This is a
Yes.
this is an actual test. It's a quick test, and a quick test is regular than a normal test. Just letting everybody. We're talking mechanics because it's time for us to make a roll. So, the difference between a quick test and a challenge, a full challenge. With a quick test, you either succeed or you don't. That's it. And if you do, you're not going to get. Quick tests don't tend to have edges if you succeed really well. You just either do or you don't. You might get problems
Okay.
if you fail. But in a normal test, you have your, I'm going to give you the advanced number. And then there is some number that you do not know that is the setback number. And you want to hope you get high enough. Maybe you can meet that advance. But if you get a hold, which is the middle thing, still good. With a quick test, it's either yes or no, right? You either filch it and see it or you don't. So this will be filch. You have 2 dice and everything. You do not currently have any edges that will give you more dice. Because this is a quick test, I don't have an extra problem that you could take to get an extra die. You could always stunt to get a third die if you wanted to, but you don't have to decide that right now. I'm going to tell you your number. Your number is 6. If you get a 6 or higher,
6.
you succeed.
Okay.
But
And then
you
if I
have to
get,
roll 1 die at a time.
And if I get below a 6, if I remember correctly,
then you
there's
fail.
one level where it's a fail. Is there another level with this one where it's like a fail with additional problems? No, it's just succeed or
Mm-mm.
fail here.
Yeah, because this is a
Okay.
quick test. Regular tests, you have advance, hold, and setback. And with a quick test, it's yes or no. You either do it or you have problems.
Okay. And the once I for each dice that I roll, then I lose the ability to roll that dice again, right? For the rest of this.
Well, your filch skill will go from 2 to 1. And then the next time you
Okay.
roll filch, you only have 1 die to roll on it.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. So here we go. First die.
First die, a 2.
Hmm. Okay.
You have a second die.
Um,
By the way, this is another part of the mechanics of this game. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Each die you roll, you have to tell a story about how you're
Mm.
doing this and how each die adds to the attempt. You need a
Do
6
I
to
tell it
advance right now.
do I tell it as I roll
Yes, you
or
do.
like
As you
okay.
roll. This is like,
So
which makes like a chase scene. You know how it's working. So this is a 2. You need a 6. This is your first die out of 2. Give it to me.
so this is not a high number, so I think what we
Mm-mm.
are looking at here is Chrys goes to reach for the book and then the bellhop like comes in for a second to grab a set of bags. And so then they just rest their hands on the like near the book as if they're just casually like leaning against the desk. And then when the bellhop leaves, they're gonna try and roll this second dice
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and try and actually open the book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That is a 6. So, again, because I want everybody to know how the mechanics work, there's a really important reason why in this game you do not roll all your dice at the same time, which is also why I do not yet have a dice rolling macro, because this is a little bit the computers doesn't do, but I'm on my way. Because if you make your number before you use all of your dice, you get a push. So you get resources if you are able to um, get the number you need without using all your dice. So you can't roll all your dice all at once. So continue on. And hello, Raiders. Please explain how you get this.
so as soon as the bellhop like picks up those bags and starts carrying them up behind, Chrys just smoothly slides the ledger over to where they are. They lean against the desk so that they can see the ledger at the same time as they're able to see the door that Bella will come
Mm-hmm.
back through.
Mm-hmm.
And they flip it open and they start flipping through the pages as quickly as they can without
Mm-hmm.
drawing
Mm-hmm.
attention.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Somebody
looking to
walks by,
see.
like a tourist walks by, like not so close, right? So like comes is like talking on their cell phone, right? And is sort of like
Oh yeah.
complaining about something kind of loudly, and is like almost about to approach the desk, and you can see that they're very, very sort of distracted by whatever is going on, and then they sort of like turn and leave again, right? There's that moment where they sort of like get close, but then they're not paying attention, and they sort of head back out again.
I think the entire time Chrys like stays super calm. So you know when
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to not draw attention to yourself and all
Mm-hmm.
you do, you just take your energy. I don't know if anybody else
Mm-hmm.
does this. This is what I do when I don't want to draw attention to myself. I just take my energy and like shoot it through the earth. And honestly, I become pretty invisible at that point. Like for some reason, people just don't see me as much. In fact, I did this during an improv show recently, which was pretty fun.
Ah.
Um, and that's I think what Chrys is doing is just super calm, grounded energy, just very leaning against the desk. And as this person like approaches, they are acting as if they're flipping through a brochure rather than
Mm-hmm.
reading the contents of this
Mm-hmm.
ledger.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the
Mm-hmm.
person like pulls away,
Mm-hmm.
they continue flipping, but a little bit faster now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you knew them, I think you would see a moment of like panic start to light up in their eyes as they start creating a backstory to tell this
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm.
And then they like release the backstory and yeah.
as you look into these ledgers, which by the way are very this is clearly a way to show that they're fancy, or
Mhm.
maybe it's a place where they don't want to have certain information digitized. One or the other. It's a little unclear. Um,
Mm.
but you flip through and you find Francesca Curtis. You find her. And what you notice is that she is not paying for her hotel room. Her hotel room and it is an expensive hotel room, by the way,
Oh,
is being
interesting.
paid for by Hollister Consulting Limited. Um, so it's being paid for by their credit card. By their credit card. You've not heard of them before. You'd probably have to do a little bit of research on them if you wanted to.
Mhm.
Um,
That's
you
definitely what's
could,
happening next.
but you don't know them off the top of your head, which means they're probably small boutique, under the radar. Uh,
So this is not the small bank that she works for. This is something else.
yes, but
Okay.
she is an analyst, so this is not where she works. This is a different company. So maybe she does consulting with them, or probably not. But that's the you know. And as you're sort of like flipping through, uh, and you just sort of notice there are a couple of entries in this ledger, if you kind of flip through,
Mhm.
that it seems as if there's just like a note that she comes in and asks about this package about the same time every single day, 4 days in a row. And then there's the note that she used the phone same time, like so like it seems like she's on a kind of a regular schedule of waiting to try to get this package, right? So you
Hmm.
kind of just and
Mhm.
this is it doesn't seem to you like this ledger is there for nefarious purposes, like they're keeping tabs on her, but more like somebody's probably have to justify a bunch of overseas phone calls, and
Mm.
also
Mhm.
um kind of like a CYA, like paper trail situation. This
Uh-huh.
person's complaining
Uh-huh.
a lot already. And you kind of get that sense because the first entry is sort of backdated, right? Like they didn't seem to note it, but the second time she complained and caused a hullabaloo, they noted that she did it the day before as well, right? And so then you can see they're kind
Ah,
of like,
okay.
okay, just because if she complains to a manager, at least they can say, and it's always very like, and we did our due diligence, we told her, so that you can kind of tell that they're trying to build up
Yeah.
um, that they have done their job, just in case she decides to complain that they've not been doing their job, right? But you also get that she's a fairly regular schedule in terms of this is clearly important to her.
Has she is there anything else in the ledger that shows that she's been at this hotel before on other instances, perhaps also paid by Hollister
Yes,
Consulting?
yes.
Okay.
You don't have a
How
lot
many
of time.
times?
You
Okay.
can't get too much of that because you don't have a lot of time, but you do get the
Okay.
sense you can see at least one other entry, like because these books are you'd have to get through multiple books, but maybe 6 or 7 months ago, which by the way corresponds with the Infinity Ledger, right?
Oh.
Right, that you have seen her cut through, right? So that actually sort of meshes with what you've seen in your secret ledger.
With one of the it matches what I saw with the money moving in one of those
Yes,
ledgers was about the same
yes,
time that she was
yes,
here at the hotel. Okay.
yes,
Um,
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
and money is moving.
Hmm.
Just making
Hmm.
notes, so many notes.
Tell me
Uh,
how else you want to gather intel. There are many approaches you could take, right? On how to gather intel on this woman and what she's doing and what she's waiting for. Um,
that 6 months ago, it was paid by Hollister Consulting, right?
it was,
Okay.
it was. Um,
Is there anyone
I
else in the ledger who sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to have to bring up something. You had a
Uh-huh.
request, and this request would require a push.
Ah, okay.
You
Hmm.
asked Bella if she could let you know when the package came in.
Yes, I did.
That is a little bit above and beyond her pay grade. Um, because that's like mail fraud. But if you spend, uh, do you have reassurance?
Yes, I do. I'm 90% sure I do. Yes, I do.
A reassurance push would convince her that it's okay for her to let you know before she lets Francesca Curtis know.
I would absolutely love to spend this push on Bella to ask her to
Mhm.
let me know. And I'd love it to be like hey, can you just like text me as soon as this arrives? You know, I've got to let
I will.
her mom
Oh,
know everything.
well, I don't know about that. I mean, it's her package. I don't think I could do that.
Oh, I would never ask you to open it. No, my goodness, please don't. Like I'm not trying to get you into any trouble here. I just, you know, you've seen how she is. Her mom is 10 times worse. If I don't let her mom know the minute the package has arrived, then it's going to be my head on a stick for the next week. And
Oh,
I don't want to get you into trouble. I won't tell anybody. In fact, I'll
oh,
delete the text message as soon as you send it, if you
oh.
don't mind.
Is this just sort of like a like just checking to make sure it actually does arrive, that sort of a thing?
Exactly, exactly. She's very paranoid.
Oh, okay. Well, so's your daughter, so I suppose that's all right.
You
I'll just I'll text you. Just let me have your number.
Oh, sure. It's 566
Five
and
six
then
six.
she'll like
Mm-hmm.
322
322
7889.
7889. All right.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. Please
Yeah,
delete one of your 3 push tokens.
okie dokie karaoke. How do I delete that?
Mm-hmm. Just click on it and then hit delete.
Excellent.
Should
One
be able to
second.
do it.
I need to
Because
zoom out a little bit more and
I
then
want you to
zoom in
have
a little
the
bit more. There we
feeling of losing your token. I just feel like that's really important.
go.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
I think that this is, but I think this was an important push. I think this was a
Mm-hmm.
necessary
Mm-hmm.
push. So this is either good
So,
or bad, but I've done it. It's too late. It's done.
how else would you like to gather intel on this matter? Because this is the moment where you have your own, you get to decide what kind of agent you are. How do you get
I
intel?
cannot, let's see. I can't imagine that. So they would definitely be wanting to look into Hollister Consulting some more. And I'm just trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how they're going to look into Hollister Consulting some more because they
Mm-hmm.
haven't come across this name yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
with criminology,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yes.
debating criminology or accounting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm wondering if like criminology, if so I need to find out more information about Hollister Consulting. I wonder if
Mm-hmm.
there's a contact that
Mm-hmm.
somebody like if like internet cafes that used to exist
Yeah.
back in the day where people would
Oh.
go and do things and run something not through their machine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um I I think Chrys might go to one of these internet cafes and look for a hacker who might be willing to help them just find more information on Hollister Consulting.
Thing is, you don't need to do that because you have accounting. Uh, and I
Oh, I
believe,
can just do it with my accounting? Excellent.
yes, you have that skill. It will get you slightly different
Then
information, but you have that skill. Uh,
that's definitely what I want to do then, because that's who Chrys is. They look at the numbers, they know the numbers.
mhm. Um, because there are like accounting, like there's like business, and you also have bureaucracy. What do you have? You have accounting, right?
I do.
Um,
I have bureaucracy,
yeah.
accounting, I have cop
Mm-hmm.
talk,
Yeah.
criminology,
Yeah.
and
Mm,
cryptography,
mm.
and vampirology, in case that's any.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you follow her? Do you like trail
Francesca?
her? Mm-hmm. Every
Um,
day she comes in, she complains, and then she goes out into the city. And then sometime later in the evening she comes back. So she's like gone for like a large chunk of the day. Because I want to get
I
a sense of
think
like what all you do.
I think one of the days Chrys definitely trails Francesca just to see, and that's, I think, when they figure out, and I don't know if there's more that they figure out in this, but I think that's
Oh,
definitely how they figured out that
yes.
Francesca's doing like the touristy stuff, right? Like,
Hmm, hmm.
is
So
by
if
one of
you,
those
yeah,
trailing them.
if you
Mhm.
follow her, there are other things that happen because you get different bits of information based
Ooh,
on all this.
excellent.
Um, because, right? I mean, this is how it is. Like you've got 4 days here, right? So let's think about following. Let's think about sort of doing some looking up sort of business sites, business records. So we've got some
Mhm.
accounting. I know we got some chronology. So when you follow her, I'm gonna sort of get here because I know you're gonna sort of like follow her, sort of hit um, the internet cafe. Love a good internet cafe. Um, she goes out and she looks like a tourist when she goes out of the hotel. Got a bag, big sun hat. Um, she's clearly very impatient and sour faced, you know? Um, she's clearly not happy about something. She's not here uh, on for fun, I guess. When you follow her,
Mhm.
she wanders around the city, um, irritated, right? Looking like a good tourist. Um, and then in the evening, you notice that she's heading back towards the hotel in the evening, and she doesn't. When you notice her, she takes a bit of a detour rather than going back to the hotel. She takes a bit of a detour and she goes off to a smaller non-tourist cafe, and she meets a man. And this man is younger. This woman, you would say that this woman is probably in her late 20s, maybe, uh,
Mm.
ish. And this man that she meets is maybe about 18 or 19, perhaps. Um, he has a super deep V on his shirt. It's like open, super open. He has like 7 chest hairs. He's wearing like a very thick gold chain with a medallion. The shirt he's wearing is like a silk shirt, in like a nice, like a pale lavender. And he's wearing like this dark suit, well tailored. Well, it's an expensive suit, but it's not well tailored, right? Because like the pants have not been hemmed, so they just are like drooping all over. Some very expensive sneakers, very expensive designer sneakers. Um, and she meets with him, and it is clear to you, as a person who knows people very well, that she does not like him. Um, she is maintaining a very cool and icy professionalism as she's chatting with this fellow. And he is hitting on her outrageously.
Mm.
Um, a lot. And it seems to you also as if he's got some friends around his age as well, but they're sitting at a table not where these two are at. Like they're sitting at a separate table, just sort of watching these young men who are his friends. Uh, sure, friends. And they're having this sort of conversation, sort of a bit of you can't hear what they're saying because you're at a bit of a distance. And she seemed to wanting to keep it business, and he seemed to want to hit on her. And it doesn't seem as if she's still irritated and annoyed, and whatever it is that it doesn't seem to be, whatever they need to do is not really concluded. Um,
Mm.
and of course, then she gets up and she sort of heads back to the hotel. Um, I would like to know if you tail her on more than one occasion.
Well, yeah, I think actually Chris would tail her some more. I think, yeah, they would definitely follow her to see if she meets up with this kid again or
She
anybody
does.
else that
She does.
Does she meet up with him every night?
Yes, she does. They're clearly not going on dates, though, because she does not stay any longer than she has to. She goes, she talks to him, they have some kind of a conversation. He tries to hit on her, she keeps it professional, and then she gets up
Mm.
and she goes back. So it's like she looks for the package, it's not there, she complains and yells, she makes a phone call, she wanders the streets, and then she goes to meet this guy, and then they have some kind of conversation that seems to be frustrating, and then she goes back to the hotel. And that happens every day. Um, are there any particular skills you would like to bring to bear as you're observing this crew of people?
Yes. Just pulling up my character sheet here.
Because you did mention some, but I want to the specific things that you're pondering as you're watching this.
There's a couple I'd like to use on different nights. Well,
Absolutely.
one, I'd love to
Mhm,
use criminology to see if I can
mhm,
pinpoint, like, are these
mhm,
Sam's people? Do they look like
mhm,
they could be Sam's people?
mhm, mhm.
Or,
So,
whatever else criminology might give me. And then I have other
absolutely.
skills for you.
So criminology is a great choice. Um, couple things. I'm also gonna make you have a roll, but don't worry about it. Um, you should worry about it, but it's fine. First
I
things
always
first.
worry about it, Trooper.
Sam Malenko, you have never seen him. You've seen a
Hmm.
very old black and white sort of surveillance photo of him. He is a
Hmm.
little paranoid, and he is not often seen in public, right? It is very
Hmm. Hmm.
unclear where he lives, where he's at any given moment. No one's really been able to track down exactly where he sleeps or what he looks like right now. He never seems to meet with anybody in person, right? You know what I mean? Like it's very hard to track this guy down, which is partly one of the reasons why they had you on the case, because you may not be able to track down people, but you can track down their money.
Well, they
And
had me on the case.
well, they did have you on the case until then you weren't on the case. I wonder how that
Weird.
vampire found out where your friends lived. Anyway, but back to the operation. This young guy, absolutely he's a criminal. You know that automatically. Like this is just you just know from the way he carries himself. Those are his bodyguards, which means he's important, but he's also young, so he's probably not as important as he thinks he is, right?
Mm.
Like you know
Mm-mm.
this. This is just so to you obvious. But a little bit of like asking around using your criminology, which, somebody here and there,
No.
somebody at the cafe. Um, this guy is named Luciano.
Wait, L. Luciano?
Yep, Luciano. And when you try to ask around, people are hesitant here and there. Some people are not. But it doesn't take you long. And also, you have this feeling he looks familiar to you. You've never seen him before, but when you think about it, he looks a little bit like that photograph you'd seen of Sam Malenko, which was quite old, actually sort of looks like him. You suspect this is some sort of family relation to Sam Malenko.
Mm. Hmm.
And mostly what you get uh, from how much money he spends at this, he tips outrageously in trying to impress Francesca Curtis, who does not
Mm.
want to have anything to do with him. Uh, you are certain that he is connected to Sam Malenko's criminal organization, if not actually related to him in some way, a son or a cousin, a nephew, something like that. Um, absolutely. She is meeting with a relative of Sam Malenko, which to you using criminology is significant because that means that whatever this is important to Sam Malenko, and it's probably going to him, right? You don't give something like this to an 18-year-old relative unless it's going to end up
Yeah.
in his hands in some
Yeah.
way. So this might be your way to get close to Sam Lenko. Maybe. Possibly. And you know from your previous work that Lenko is a very well-established ring. They deal
Mhm.
with, at least in this area, a lot of heroin and other opiates.
Mhm.
A lot of harder drugs in this area. He does other things other places, but as far as you know, it's mostly lots and lots of heroin and opiates. As far as you know, this also goes back to Turkey and Afghanistan. Um, like he's sort of like part of this sort of French connection. Um, a lot of drugs, a lot of heroin, a lot of heroin.
Mm. Yeah.
An obscene amount of heroin, but he himself is paranoid and elusive and very hard to get a hold of. Really hard to get a hold of. But what you're seeing, as far as you know, is a regular meetup. Probably she's supposed to hand the package over to this kid. Probably. Or at least there's going to be some sort of either he's going to take her because he does have, if you notice, a, a very nice limo that's parked not too far. So either he's
Mm.
going to take her to see Sam Lenko when she has the package, or he'll take it from her. It's a little bit unclear. You're not 100% certain on that one, but
Mhm.
you believe 100% that Lenko's going to get that package.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you make a roll for me?
Uh, of course. Yeah. What role would you like?
Surveillance, please. Before you roll, this is
Mhm.
when you're out and about. You know what I mean? You're following them out and about.
Yeah.
Little bit of a surveillance going on. I would like to let you know that your advance number is a 7.
Mhm.
I do have, and this is a full-on challenge, and I'm going to explain it for the audience because I like to be dramatic. Is this one I like? No, this is too scary. I want a bit more. Uh, there's a piece of music that's very spy-like, and I'm going to find it. But
Mm. Exciting times.
there's one I want. So in this game, with a full challenge, there are 2 numbers to think about: the advance number and then the setback number. And I'm not going to tell you the setback number. You don't know. You just know the advance number. Sometimes you can get extra problems for extra dice. In this case, there is an extra problem in case you want an extra die. You can always
Okay.
stunt to get extra die as well, and you could stunt here for an extra die. Also, if you spend a push, if you have streetwise or urban survival, you can spend a push to get an extra die. I'm sorry, not an extra die, a +2 on the roll. But so your options right now, you need to make a surveillance roll. You have
Mhm.
the option, if you have streetwise or urban survival, you can spend one of your pushes to get a +2 to that roll. You're currently rolling at a 2. You can get an extra problem for an extra die, and also you can spend a stunt to get an extra die, but you do not have to decide that now. Those are things you can decide after you roll your 2 dice or before. And audience, here's why it matters. If you spend them in advance, then you have more dice and you're more likely to get your advance before and have dice left over, which will get you an extra push. But then you use those resources. If you don't use the resources first, you can still add them on later, but then you're not going to get the push, right? So it's basically go all in now to maybe get an extra push, or hold off on using those resources and not get the extra push, but still keep your resources. So your number is 7 to advance.
I kind of want to try a stunt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't done that yet, so I'm curious to see how it'll work. I want to do a stunt.
So the stunt that you would use is if you have the skill cover. And I believe this is what I'm looking for. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah. Is this
I
the one that
do
I
have
want?
the skill covered. Hey, nice.
Just a little bit of a espionage, surveillance, vibraphone, which is what I want in my life. So, here's how stunts work. If you stunt a skill, that skill is wiped out. So you can't, now it goes to 0 dice, but you get an extra die
Okay.
for this roll. So for example, this skill is cover, which allows you to disguise yourself. So which will make it, by the way, harder for people to recognize that you're following them. Just so you know. So the reason why you could use cover as a stunt is because this is to make it less likely people understand that you are following them, perhaps criminal people. So if you would like to stunt your cover, just click your stunt check mark and then bring those dice down on cover down to 0. And of course, reduce your surveillance die down by 1. And you have 3 dice to roll.
Excellent. Okay. Here we go.
As you walk through the streets, that's a 4.
Oh.
Explain to me. You are traveling through the streets of Girona, a medieval Spanish city. Beautiful city walls, old churches and spires, and you are following Francesca Curtis as she moves through the city. She stops here and there at a stall. She moves forward. Tell me how this particular 4 is manifesting at the moment.
I think there is one point where Francesca starts to turn, like she is looking at some scarves and she happens to like almost notice Chrys. Like definitely sees Chrys for a hot second, and then Chrys turns to the person that they're standing next to and asks for a light so that their hair like kind of falls in front of their face away from Francesca. And it looks like as this person gives them a light, that this person and them are that they're not just someone randomly standing alone. They're here with somebody. Yeah. This is a whole different thing, you know?
All right. You have 2 dice left to hit that 7.
Here we go.
Dice number 2. You roll a 6.
Oh. Wasn't that nice?
That is nice. So you hit your number, your advanced number, with a dice to spare, which means you're going to get an extra push, which I'm going to just give you right now. Just give you this extra push.
Yay! I do love pushes.
But it also means more than that. Because since you advance, you get a bonus. Rather than the hold, right?
Oh, isn't that lovely? I do love a good bonus.
Tell me about how you expertly tail Francesca Curtis, and then I will tell you something that you might want to know later.
I think this is one of those things where a lot of it is just simply like walking far enough behind her as she goes different places. But I think the most interesting part of the tale is probably when she goes to hop on a bus. Chrys cannot make that bus in time. But they look at someone who's hopping on their bike and they say, well, hello there, handsome. Mind a second rider? And they hop on the back of the bike with this. It's totally a Vespa. It's absolutely a Vespa.
Nice. Go on.
And they like hop on the back, and as they're like chatting this guy up, they keep directing him to follow the bus. And then, you know, when Francesca goes to get off of the bus, like they hop off the back of the bike. They ask the guy to pull over. They hop off the back of the bike and they say, well, now, wasn't that a fun ride? And they give him a kiss before they walk off to continue following Francesca.
So, my friend, as you do this amazing sort of situation, something interesting catches your eye. You are expertly able to keep your eye on Curtis. no matter where she goes. And getting on that Vespa and doing that, just that moment when you turn back to give the kiss, you see it. Something that Francesca doesn't see. Because you are that good.
Oh no.
She's being followed by someone who's not you. At least 4 men are following her. They are Moroccan. And as you follow her, you also follow them. And you see that they are tracking her. Now you can't not see them. They're at the hotel. Outside of the hotel now. They are following her wherever she goes. They're watching her when she talks to Luciano, but they do not interact with Luciano or his people. Luciano and his people do not seem to recognize that these men are there. And you get a very good look at all 4 of their faces, and you could recognize them. You commit their faces to memory, and you could recognize them anywhere, anytime you see them again, and you're going to get an edge. I'm going to give you your first edge. I hope you're excited about it. Let me go
I'm
get this
so
for you.
excited about it. The cigarette has been a problem. I can't smile with a cigarette in my mouth. I gotta learn how to do
By
that.
the way, because, by the way, I'm going to show this. When we deal, I want to deal face down so that we get to flip the card over, because I feel like that's just a bit more dramatic.
Ooh, that is very dramatic.
Yeah, I
appreciate that.
I want to give you that satisfaction. Otherwise, it's not as satisfying. Let me give you
you.
this card. I have placed this card on your playmat, and I do hope that I didn't need to change. I should be good. Go ahead. Read it out loud for our audience, if you would. It is your edge. And by the way, for big challenges, if you advance, you also get an edge. Now, if you hold, you're not going to get edge, but you may still succeed at what you're trying to do, but you just don't get the edge. But because you succeeded so well, you get a push and this edge. And would you share what the edge is?
Here we go. Oh no, I'm clicking on it. Oh, there we go. Flip card.
There you go.
And scrolling up so that I can read
And you can just hit Z.
Here we go. I
And
can hit
it'll
Z.
pop up.
Oh, I can hit Z to flip it? Oh, that's so
No.
cool.
If you click on it and you hit Z,
Oh.
it zooms in, and then you can read it super easily.
My God, that's so much better. Bless you, Trooper. Fantastical human, you.
I tried.
Okay,
I tried.
here we go. Edge. Who are these guys? You've spotted Curtis's tail. 4 men, mostly Moroccan. You can discard this card and use a contact or a criminology push to identify them, or discard it for a bonus die in any confrontation with these mysterious guys.
How do you like them? That's, by the way, audience, that's
so
what these cards are
cool.
used for.
That is
These
so
cards
cool.
just track all of that business. So it's a good thing you didn't get a setback, because that would be sad. And by the
That
way,
would have been
that's
very
how
sad. I wouldn't have found out about these guys.
that's how stunts work, by the way. So like now your surveillance is now only at 1 die. So the next time you have to roll a surveillance check, you only get 1 die. But again, you might always be able to stunt in, right? You might be like, oh, maybe I can stunt athletics or whatever you got going on to make that plausible.
So, and but cover, do I still have all of the dice for cover, or did I lose a dice for cover with
You
this?
lose the dice for cover. You basically give up some dice for a different skill in order to get your bonus here that you need it.
So to make sure I'm tracking, I have no more dice to roll for cover, or can I roll 1 dice
That is
for
correct.
cover?
No dice for cover.
No dice for cover. Lost all the cover dice. Cool.
But you can still make a cover roll if you can get dice from somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? Like if you had to make a cover roll, you could be like, maybe I can like stunt something else to get a die, or maybe I could like take an extra problem to get a die. So even if you don't have dice in something, if you can scrounge up dice from somewhere else, then you can still roll.
Still good. Still alive. Staying alive.
Well, it might not be
staying alive.
good, but I mean, you have to scrounge. And you know how you can often scrounge dice?
How? Taking time?
No, taking extra problems. Some challenges give you extra
Oh.
problems. You can take an extra problem to get an extra die. For example, you did not need it, but in this one, you could have taken an extra problem to get an extra die, which you did not take. I will not tell you what the problem is, but I'll tell you the title of the problem. Sympathy for Curtis was the title of that problem that you could have taken to get an extra die
Oh.
in case you really needed it or wanted it. So
So
that's how that works.
I only used 2 dice to get here, so I have a
Mhm.
3rd extra die. What does that turn into? Does that turn into anything?
It turns into that push that I just gave you.
Into the push. Okay, excellent.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So that's how
Now
you
I'm
can
tracking.
that's how you get pushes. You overcommit your resources to the roll so you have more dice than you think you'll need, so then you get the push. Or if you want to hoard your resources, you just roll your 2 dice, that however many dice you have, and if you don't get the number, then you could go and stunt, and then you could do the thing. So you can, like, wait until after you roll, but if you do that, then you're not gonna get a push. But you might
Okay.
also just save the resources, right? So it's, if you hadn't have used your stunt, you would have only rolled 2 dice, and you would have still advanced, but you would not have had any dice left, so you would not have gotten a pushback,
Makes sense.
right?
Makes
I
sense.
think it's
Okay.
quite elegant. So what do you do?
So with this, let's see. I
And
can discard the card and use a contact or a criminology push to identify them,
mhm, mhm.
or get a bonus die if I'm confronting these guys.
Which you may one day, you never know. And you can just let that sit
I
there
might.
until whenever you need it.
I think I'm going to for right now.
It's there.
I don't think I want to touch it yet.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
okay.
So at the moment you have former rockin' dudes following her, tailing her wherever she goes. Also, you are tailing her wherever she goes. She's meeting up with some sort of relative of the man that you've been trying to track for probably at least 2 years, Sam Lenko,
Mhm.
uh,
Who
being
I'm meet
Carrotwin.
who's a relative that looks certainly
Yeah,
similar,
yeah.
probably related, maybe
Probably
son. I
related.
don't know.
Maybe son, something like a generation younger and in some way related, and also
Right.
seems to really like throwing money around.
And likes Miss Francesca.
She does not like him, but that's neither here nor there. Um, so what do you do?
Let's see.
What is
So
your plan?
I know the package is most likely going to go to this guy. I don't know
Hmm.
where this guy is going to
Hmm.
take said package
That is
once he gets
correct.
it, but
That
I
is
don't
correct.
necessarily want to tip him off that he's got a
Hmm.
tail or that she's got a
Hmm.
tail
Hmm.
by following him before there is a package to
Hmm.
trace, because especially if it's
Hmm.
going to Sam, I want to get all the
Hmm.
way there.
Yes. Yes.
So I think then that man, I'm actually thinking about going and confronting these guys that are following Francesca right now. I do want to learn more about them. So I think one of the nights, uh, Chrys is going to, after Francesca goes into her hotel room, they're gonna wait and then they're gonna trail the Moroccan guys to see where they go.
So what you notice is they don't go anywhere. They are, how do I put this? Professional. Your guess would be they are trained something. Espionage agents, hitmen,
Ex-Mossad, something.
perhaps something like this. They're probably ex something, right? Um, and they are professionals. They're used to doing stakeouts, and they are on a mission. And I don't
Mm,
mean that like this is they're on a job, and their job has something to do with seeing what Francesca does. And they are clearly dangerous,
okay.
and they're clearly hired to do this job, and they, just like you, are waiting. They are just waiting for
So
something. But they also, by the way, I would say if you're watching them, you get the vibe that they probably have been here longer than you have and have every day followed her.
Mm,
Whenever she left the apartment, they are on her, right? They are not letting her out of their sight.
okay, so they're not leaving at night. They're
And there's like
following her
about 4 of
everywhere.
them, so they kind of trade off a little bit, so they always have somebody just in case, right? They are very good at what they do, and they're probably armed, would be your guess, right? That would be your
Okay.
guess, is that they are armed and patient. They are
Armed
patient,
and patient.
much like you are, as a matter of fact.
Well, interesting. So,
Hmm.
question for you.
Yes.
They are in some kind of van use, or did you say they were in a van, or did I think they were in a van? Are they
You thought
in,
they were in a van.
are they using, are they using any sort of transportation?
They've got a bit of a mix, right? Sometimes they clearly have a vehicle, right? They've got
Okay.
like a small taxi, and they also, so
Okay.
like 2 of them will be in the taxi, 2 of them will be waiting outside, right? So like there's like
Mm,
they kind of mix it up so that they can keep an eye on her in different ways. I will note that when she got on that bus, only
hmm.
because you were amazing were you able to follow her. They also were able to follow her, which lets you know they're not scrubs.
Oh.
Just
Mm-hmm.
just so you know, right? They were able to, and being on a Vespa is a bit easier to get through this traffic and these like narrow medieval streets, but they are very good at driving, they're very good at trailing, and they're very, very committed to making sure that they know where she goes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So this taxi, in fact,
Mm-hmm.
all of the vehicles that they
Yeah.
use, um, I would like to use accounting to know who purchased them
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
slash
Yeah.
owns, or if they're rented out,
Mm-hmm.
who did the renting of said
Mm-hmm.
vehicles? Like what name are they under?
Mm-hmm.
Who paid for it?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm gonna let you sit on that for a moment because you did have some other things you were researching as time goes on.
True. Oh God, I forgot.
I did not forget because I want to make sure you get all these things because you're doing a little bit of a deep dive. I'm going to note
Mhm.
this. This is a mechanic that I'm introducing, so I want everybody to see it. This is going to involve taking time. Okay? Because you have to go and spend some time away from her to do this research into them and into Hollister, so you have to take some
Mm,
time. That is what it is. But
mhm.
I feel like because you have like this is taking place over a couple of days, so you never have to feel like, I mean, sometimes you do have to rush, but you don't always have to feel like you have to rush because you know you have time. So when you're taking time, um, you get to do some things since you are taking time. One of the things you get to
Awesome.
do is refresh all of your abilities. So that
Hmm.
cover, all those dice that you use, they refresh because you have taken time. Right? This is how this goes. Right?
Net
Get yourself
20. Does that mean my
nice.
stunt comes back off of cover too?
Yes, it does. The stunt comes back. All of your abilities refresh. Now, I will also note this: the bad guys or your antagonists are also doing things while you're taking time. This is the moment where they do their stuff. On your character sheet, you have 3 trackers: shadow, heat, and injury.
Hmm.
If your shadow, heat, or injury are too high, bad things will happen to you. So, for example, if you had really high
Okay.
heat, which is for like non paranormal authorities or forces, they would
Hmm.
probably attack you while you were taking time, right? Like that gives them the opportunity to
Mm,
do something. Sort of depends on how high. If your heat is very low, it won't be very much. If it's very high, then it might be a whole lot, like a press conference about how you need to be arrested. So it kind of depends, right? So whenever you take
I got it.
time, I mean, if you have like heat 5, that means it's real bad for you. I don't know what you've been doing to cause that much trouble, but you have. You've not been subtle, and now people want to get you. But you have 0 in all of your You've not built up any heat or shadow or injury, so there's no blowback. You took some time early before it got really bad, so this is like they're going to be doing their stuff, but you're not going to get any blowback. But please note, if you have really high trackers and you take time, which sometimes you need to do, to fix your injuries, for example, bad things might happen to you. But right now, it's early days.
No.
You're feeling good, like nothing bad is happening. It's a refresh. And you do some research. The man's name is Anthony Hollister.
Hmm.
He has offices in Kensington in London. And his business is listed as a consultancy, and that's it. What you're able to learn from your sketchy internet cafe and doing quite a bit of research is that he had been, before he went into consultancy, I guess, a political fixer and PR handler for various up-and-coming politicians. And he was doing really well. He had like, you can see like newspaper articles from him like some time
Yeah.
ago. He was like one of those golden boys that was going to like really have a big career and maybe even run into politics himself. He was very good at handling PR and being a fixer for various British politicians. Avoiding some scandals here, like helping people get through scandals. Like he was like Kerry Washington from the TV show Scandal, right? Like
Oh yeah, yeah,
really,
yeah.
yeah, like really up and coming, really like gonna have a great career in front of them. And then they took on some private client that you cannot identify. It's not listed anywhere. And then
Mhm.
they just dropped right off the radar. You have research, right?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
do. Wait, you
yeah.
said offices in Kensington, and where was the other office in?
The Kensington in London. Kensington is like a
Mm.
super expensive neighborhood in London. Like super expensive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so they were like, so by the way, those are very expensive offices to have. So whoever his private client is has a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And doing your research, which probably involves keeping touch, reaching out to a couple of people you might know here or there. You hear a couple of rumors about him, from friends on like, burner phones and whatnot. And by friends, I mean people in intelligence who are still talking to you.
There's not
And
many, but they're nice.
not many. What you learn is that there are whispers about him,
Mm.
that he is in control, people say. And this is probably actually, I imagine this is probably from an accountant contact of yours in the UK,
Mhm.
is where you get this particular information. Rumor has it within accounting circles, my dear accountant friend, that he is in control of a vast amount of wealth that he did not grow up with.
Mm.
Right, like he's not like an uber wealthy person. Like he didn't grow up poor. He was like a middle class guy that went to like Oxford, et cetera, et cetera. But he apparently he has access to some insane amount of wealth that he trades for political favors and assistance. He uses his connections because he had connections with a lot of politicians, right? British politicians, but also
Mhm.
through that work, politicians from other countries. But now he's no longer he's working for some private client. And rumor
Mhm.
has it, from what you've heard, that he will sometimes just drop a couple $1,000,000 to get a favor from a politician here or there, or to get assistance.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that is some information. You do not know where he got that information. Your friends don't know. You're able to get some photographs of him, sort of handsome, ish. He, when you had photographs of him when he was younger, he's a bit more carefree
Mm.
looking. One of the differences between some of the newer photographs of him now and back then is that now he always has a bodyguard with him.
Mm.
Always.
Mhm.
He is never without a bodyguard. You always see some photograph of some beefy, burly, probably ex-special forces bodyguard, right, with him at all times. And you're able to track a couple of things here or there. It looks like he has the most expensive and state-of-the-art security systems at both his home and his office.
Hmm.
You've seen some photographs of him uh, with when you see him, he has his bodyguard, right? Different people, but he
Hmm.
also in the photographs always has some gigantic wolfhound with him. Always.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
you just see these photographs of this really dangerous looking attack dog that he always has with him. Always. You can't see it in motion. You only see it in photographs of it, but it's always there. Um, and it's always like looking at the camera, this dog, always. In every single photo that you
Does
find
this
of him.
does this dog look intelligently at the camera, or is it just staring the camera down?
Can I ask what skill you think you'd be using to decide that?
Vampirology?
Interesting. That's a weird skill to use. Why would you pick that one? I'm just asking.
Because it's the closest to something that is supernatural knowledge that Chrys might have.
Hmm.
And I'm
Well,
wondering if this is a vampire or a werewolf, actually. I think it's werewolf.
so werewolves would be under occult. Vampirology is really just about vampires, but it's deep. It's
Oh.
deep vampire lore. That said, there are vampire myths about vampires having the ability to control dogs, wolves, or morph into them,
Hmm.
become them. They can turn to bats or dogs or wolves. You don't believe that a vampire would turn into a wolfhound and hang out with this guy. That doesn't make any
Hmm.
sense to you. But it doesn't seem right. Like every time you can see like a couple of clips of him here or there, sometimes in motion, and the dog, because you use vampirology, the dog, it's a little creepy actually. It's a little creepy.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Let me play the creepy music because I want to tell you about why this dog is creepy and I want you to feel it. Um,
I'm so
so
ready for this.
the thing is, as you watch him, maybe at a press conference, which he rarely does anymore. He used to do that all the time, but he didn't have the dog before. He never had the dog before he got this mysterious private client and dropped off the radar. And there are
Mm.
far fewer photographs or images of him, but you do have research and you're very good at what you do. And you're able to sort of, get some of this information on side routes. The dog watches the camera and you see little clips of him like in an interview or talking about something. And the dog is listening to the conversation. And not in a way that dogs listen to sound. It looks like the dog is listening and
Mm.
understanding.
Mm.
Um, but also, the dog is weird. Like, you get a couple of video clips, not a lot, like, sort of like, because there's a lot of CCTV camera everywhere, right? And there's a lot of stuff everywhere. And the dog itself is completely still like a statue, watching, listening, like a lizard. It's got this kind of like lizard-like stillness, and then it explosively moves. It's very uncannily weird. It's just like very intensely waiting, and then it moves, and it just seems weird to you. Also, it never leaves Hollister's side, and Hollister doesn't seem to treat it well. Um,
Oh, interesting.
Not that he abuses the dog, but he shows no affection to the dog whatsoever, right? He never pats the dog on the head or pets the dog or talks to the
Hmm.
dog. The dog is just always there. Always. Always. In its weird, kind of lizard like stillness and intensity. And you are definitely able to find out where his offices are. That's not a
Hmm.
problem. Nobody looks like if you ever head off to London. you could probably you'd be able to track him down and probably pick up the observation there. I will also note, I should note that the dog itself is very large. It is very pale. Very pale. And
Interesting.
how do I say this? Because you use vampirology rather than accounting. If you use accounting, I would have said something different about this dog. But
Of
weirdly, for
course.
no reason I understand, you picked vampirology. You have read in books that a vampire can possess an animal and see through its eyes whenever a vampire needs to. That they can just remotely see through an animal that maybe they've fed blood to it, or there are different myths, right? The myths are not all consistent, so it's not, they're conflicting myths, but many of them say that there are sorts of animals that vampires, through whatever means, are able to puppet and see through in order to keep tabs on people whenever they want to. But in the myths that you have read, they really only do this to keep tabs on their servants, because vampires are, how do I put this? At least in mythology, you don't know. It's not like you've had a long conversation with one in real life that you know of. Not great to work for. I suppose that's the best way to put it. It's not like they're fun to work for. As Max Ryder notes, they could be narcissists. You know what I mean? Like they maybe not the greatest people to work for. Yes. Your guess, using vampirology as a skill rather than something else, is that if vampires are real, if they're real. If. And if this is some kind of weird, you know what it is? It's the dog's motion to you feels like you read a little story, short story about like a strange dog. And in the story, the dog was used as a puppet by one of these vampires. But every single time the vampire used this dog as a puppet, it burned out some of the humanity of the dog itself, its instincts and its impulses. And the more this vampire in this story would possess this dog to go out wandering in the night to murder, the more the dog became strange and odd in its movements. Because it's basically like a living robot, just like a meat puppet, mindlessly following whatever commands its vampiric master would have. A living robot, right?
Now that's just cruel.
Yeah. And that in the story, it was a story about this great vampiress, and she was this beautiful, beautiful countess. And she gave this dog as a present to someone, who then, of course, became her thrall. And this dog is the kind of present you maybe do not want. The young man, he was like an artisan. He was a tailor. This is an older story. He was so pleased by this mysterious woman. She was Romanian, and she came through, and she had rich dark velvets, and she had these two huge wolfhounds. And she saw this young man who was a wonderful craftsman who was able to make the most wonderful sort of gowns. And she took a shining to him, and she gave him one of her hounds, which she took as a compliment. But of course, then we learned the course of the story, this sort of myth, that she was possessing the hound and observing him, and she saw that he had a fiancé, which she then murdered. And she had the dog just rip the fiancé's throat out of like just her throat out, murdering it. And anyone that this craftsperson became close to, this dog would murder at her command. Little bit by little bit, this craftsperson became her thrall and could only obey her commands. And then the dog that was a present became a jailer. That's the story, at least. It's European. It was probably from about like Poland, perhaps, or Czechoslovakia, sort of slightly Eastern Europe, but it's from like the 1700s fairy tale. But you do remember, but you also remember in the story that the dog was as silent as the grave. And nobody knew when and where the dog would strike, or if it was even a dog. People thought it was a wolf that was killing them because this dog itself had supernatural stillness.
Hmm.
And it reminds you of that story. I know this may sound weird, but this guy Hollister, who's seen in the daylight, who has a mysterious client with huge amounts of money, he may be sort of silly, but if vampires were real, and if that story
Yeah.
makes sense, then maybe this guy Hollister, that's too silly.
He might be being manipulated by them.
Or working for them.
Both.
But I don't know if I should mention this. This guy, Hollister, has extensive contact with the British government.
Because he was a fixer
Yeah.
for politicians. So
Yeah.
they all owe, a bunch of them must owe him something.
Yes.
So he has connections not just on a financial level, but on a secrets level.
Yeah. And an influence level.
And an
Which
influence level.
could be perhaps a bit too disturbing to think about.
To be fair,
so,
saw my best friend killed, I'm pretty sure. Disturbing doesn't begin to cover it when it comes to them.
that's if they're real, right?
Right.
If
Could have been a bad dream.
Probably. So, what do you do about your Francesca, who is waiting for a package from this Hollister to take to Sam Lenko's son, nephew, cousin, something?
The other thing I was gonna try and do, well, do I want to spend the time on that right now?
Mm-hmm.
Have I heard anything from Bella?
Ticking. The package has not come in yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
How long has it been at this point? Like, how much time did that take me to do that?
2 days. It's been 6 days.
2 days. She must be losing her mind.
She is losing her mind, as a matter of fact. She's getting increasingly, like, honestly, because every day she's here, that's another day she's got to go meet with this guy Luciano and be hit on by him and be irritated. Also, you find out from Bella that she's had to extend her stay and change her, well, she made Bella change her flight, her tickets back. So she is staying longer than she's supposed to, and she is livid about this. Livid. Yeah. In a way that, like, you know, sometimes you might catch a snatch of some slightly disrespectful language towards Hollister.
Oh, or Hollister's secretary, because I imagine she's still not getting a hold of him. Or is she actually getting a hold of Hollister?
No, she's not getting a hold of Hollister, which is also making her somewhat irritated. Yeah. Do you want to do anything before, you know,
said package presumably arrives?
Yes.
Let's see. So the other thing that I wanted to do, which can absolutely be interrupted
Mm-hmm.
if the package
Mm-hmm.
arrives as this
Mm-hmm.
is happening,
Mm-hmm.
is I wanted to trace who had
Mm-hmm.
purchased and or rented the vehicles those four Moroccan guys are riding about
Yeah.
in.
Mm-hmm. Uh, are there, I know you want to use accounting. Are there any other skills you would like to bring to bear in your gathering of intel on this?
Let's see. Um,
They'll all roll into one, but I kind of want to get a sense of the flavor of information that you would like to get.
yeah, I think I'd probably use some notice as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
if this is a rental place, um, does it look like it's an above board rental place or, or the, like uh maybe there's also what was bureaucracy again? I feel like that one tells me more about
Yeah.
lets me talk
Yeah.
to people who have
So if you would like to identify them, you're going to
hmm
have to get rid of your edge. You discard your edge
hmm hmm
and use a criminology push to identify who they are.
Yep, we're gonna do that.
You're going to do it? You're going to get rid of
We're
the card?
doing it. Yes.
Okay. Delete
This
your
might be
card and
bad.
one push. You won't have
Okay.
the edge for later.
I know, but I will know who they are, which seems
You will know
valuable
who they
right
are.
now.
Okay. Get rid of one of your pushes. Okay.
I'm done.
You spend some time trying to figure out who these people are. And I'm going to give you some information that you may not want to know. And you may not know what to do with it when you have it, or maybe you will.
Oh, I like that kind of information. I bet Chrys hates it though.
From the Infinity Ledger,
Mhm.
you know that Lenko and Hollister have had dealings. You didn't know it was Hollister, right? You had no
Mhm.
name. But now that you've been able to make that connection, that you have the name Hollister, and you go back to the Infinity Ledger, you can see that there has been, again, these are all code names, right? So you don't necessarily know who they are, but having followed Francesca in this way and having connected her to Hollister in that date some 6 months ago, you're able to see that it looks to you from that ledger that Hollister and Lenko have made contacts before, never in person, but money has transferred
Mm.
from Hollister to Lenko, sometimes from Lenko to Hollister, but there's been money. There seems to have been information that you don't have in the ledger, but like records of couriers going, right? So, and it does not seem to you, of course, because you looked, Francesca was not the person who did all of this, right? She does not, she was here, what, 6 months earlier? There's been more contact. Now that you're able to sort of like, and you're like, conspiracy board, tag, oh, I think this code name is Hollister. They seem to connect to each other multiple times, and Francesca Curtis is not involved in most of them. But they have some sort of connection, which means this political fixer, maybe some kind of thrall of a vampire, if they're real, has a connection with a very, very major and important drug dealer.
Interesting.
But who are these four Moroccan men? That is hard to learn. But you know the taxi they're in? You have been observing them as much as they have been observing you. And there's a name. Behar. Or Bahar.
Wait, they've been observing me?
No, they've been observing Curtis.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And you get the name Bahar. Bahar is a drug lord from Morocco. and a very, very bitter rival to Lenko. These 4 men, you trace the money. These men are in the employ of Bahar.
Interesting.
Who very much has been in some disagreements, turf issues with Lenko. And they are on Francesca Curtis's tail. And they are very much interested to see when she gets the package and where she goes with it.
Huh.
I will note this. You could call them enemies if you wanted to. You know, rival drug criminal mafiosi. I'm going to note this. I have to say this, and I'm going to basically be giving you compliments. But I do have to do that because I need to emphasize just how badass Chrys is. Prometheus is really an extraordinary agent. Heads above many, many people. You also have very secret data that it took you years, the Infinity Ledger, to assemble. Nobody knows about Francesca Curtis, except the people that Francesca Curtis works with. Francesca Curtis may not even know all the things about Francesca Curtis that you know about Francesca Curtis. Let me put it that way. And nobody should know that she's here and that she's doing what she's doing. You only know because you were able to use your cryptography to track her down in this very sort of complicated roundabout way. And even then, there's so much plausible deniability, so many cutouts. If you knew anything, you'd probably think she was connected to Hollister, but maybe not. There's no indication that she's connected to Lenko at all. That is not something that people would know. You have to be really good. You have to have found out somehow. You do not know how Bahar's people know what she's doing, or even to look at her at all. She is not obviously, like, you have criminology, you've never heard her connected, right? You have never heard of her connected to Lenko. All the official Lenko stuff that you've done for years, you've never heard her name. You've never seen her. I mean, like, there's you know, because you're extraordinary and you got this secret book. So you have no idea how come Bahar would know this. But apparently they do. So, do you have anything you'd like to do before the package arrives? Because it is going to arrive.
It is going to arrive. It has to arrive. So here's where my head is going, and then
I'm sorry, I should tell you one thing, because
yes,
you did use the skills. They arrived here before she did.
So they knew she was coming before she was coming. Before she arrived.
Yeah. They got here like a day before. At least that's when all the records of them renting all the vehicles and all that has shown up. They got here before she did. And they came from Morocco, as far as you can tell, because you kind of like track, you trace the money. You're like, okay, if they rented this car, okay, they must have come in through the airport, right? And so they came in from Morocco and they arrived a day before she did.
So they not only knew she was coming, but they knew to get there before she did, which means they probably knew about the package before it was even sent, or around when it was getting talked about being sent, at least. And there's something about this package that's got them all up in arms. Um, I don't know how useful this is, but there's part of me that wants to, I know that is she meeting Lenko in the same cafe every day, or is it a different place every day?
It's a different place every day.
Okay.
He isn't clearly not as paranoid as his dad, uncle, something. And
Mhm.
he's also a little bit flashy, but clearly he's been given instructions to be careful and to like
Okay.
protocol. There's clearly some sort of protocol, but so he goes to a different place each time. But he also he has loud suits. Is I think the best way I can put that. Yeah.
Loud,
Yeah.
untailored suits. For the love of all that's holy, if you have money, tailor your clothes. It does amazing
Yes.
things.
Yeah. It's
Amazing things.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that idea I just had about like napping the whole place that they're going to that doesn't make sense. And I learned a lot about the Moroccan guys already.
Mm.
I'm tempted to see where they're, if they have anything at their where they're resting at night, but they're professionals. So like I doubt that they've got anything in their hotel room that's going to give me more information than my accounting would have found. Am I able to trace anything on this package? Like through the numbers, could I have seen like a FedEx package heading out of or whatever? Like would I have found anything on there?
You've not seen anything out there, and that you're probably not going to get a hold of. It probably hasn't been sent yet, to be honest. Right? Like,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, it probably has not been sent yet. It probably has been sent by now, but she's been left here a little bit, and she does not seem as if she wants to be left here a little bit. She wants to like just do her job and go. I suppose people are busy, I guess.
Fair.
Busier. She seems to be upset about people wasting her time. I imagine people don't think of her time as that valuable.
I imagine they're not terribly worried about wasting her time. Their time, yes. Her time, no.
Yes.
I want to sneak into her room and see if she has anything, because she is not a professional.
But that is correct. When do you want to sneak into her room?
On one of the days that she heads out after the Moroccan guys leave to follow her. And, of course, when the package still hasn't arrived, that's when I would like to search her room. It's during the day.
Do you have either electronic surveillance or infiltration as skills?
I don't. Those are not, neither of those. I traded one of those recently.
Yeah. So you did spend an interpersonal push. You might be able to get let in from Bella, but you'll need to spend a push.
Okay.
That's a reassurance push to let you get into that room,
I want to save my pushes, so I guess I'm not going to get into the room. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you could roll. Infiltration. Quick test to break in. If you want to do that now, you might need it later, but
that's my thing, is I think I'm going to need it later, and I think it's going to be more valuable to get information on the package and infiltrate wherever that's going than it is to just laying my cards on the table for you, chat.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more valuable to be able to get into somewhere later than it is to now. Oh, well, okay, this might be too clever. Let me know. What if I infiltrate her room after I find out the first stack of information before I start the second stack of research about the Moroccan folks?
No, it's already done.
Okay.
So with that, then, you get a call. Oh, you get a text. And the text says, Oh, the package has arrived. It's not that big. She's still out for the day. It's from Hollister.
Of course it's from Hollister.
Hollister Consulting.
Chrys will just text back, "Thank you so much." Wait, was Bella gonna say something else?
She just knows it's
just a text.
It's like an envelope, like a legal envelope that would hold paper.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like a little thick, but not too big. It's not a big package. And she was like, I thought it'd be like a big package. Seems just to be like papers, maybe.
Yeah, Chrys will have like come down to the lobby after getting that text to be like, "Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad." Like,
but I imagine you're not in the lobby. I imagine you're not following her, which means you'd have to come back to the hotel.
No, then I wouldn't go back to the lobby. Then they just read everything and they would send a like, "Oh, thank you so much." Man, I am kind of tempted to go back to the hotel, open this package, and try and reseal it. I'm very tempted to do that.
Would you like to?
Yeah, I would definitely like to do that. This might be a very bad move, but here we go.
I'm going to say that it feels a little bit weird to you that it's taken so long for this package to get here. Just so you know. Right? Like, it's been like 6 days. It doesn't take that long.
Chrys would have asked, who delivered it? Back to Bella via text.
Yeah. It was delivered by an express courier.
Okay.
So you arrive, and Bella's there because it's still the morning shift. Oh, good to see you again. Hope you're doing well.
I am. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Letting me know. Her mother is between you and I. Glad that it arrived in one piece. She did want me to take a look at it though, make sure it hasn't been opened by anyone else. Would you mind?
Oh, sure, I guess. What skill
it's all right, you know.
Sir?
I will use reassurance to convince her, and if I need, I would like to use a push to get me to go into the back room alone, so that nobody else is around. I can open this thing and then seal it back up. That's what I want to do.
That is a push. Okay. And with that push, you can do that, which means using that push means that no one will know that you got into this paperwork. You can get the paperwork without using the push, but with the push, no one will know that you did it.
That is what I want. I don't want anyone to suspect me right now.
So you look at the outside of this envelope, and it was sent just yesterday. It only took a day, but it was only sent yesterday. And it's a slim folder of legal papers. And going through these papers, you notice a couple of things about them. It is these legal papers are for the purchase of some property in London, luxury apartments, in a new development. And that's pretty boring. It mentions Hollister Consulting as one of the parties involved in these new luxury apartments. And so Hollister's a consulting firm, but apparently he's involved in this somehow. And it's just that your accounting skill tells you it's probably, and also your criminology, this is probably smells suspicious to you. Probably actually just money laundering, like a means to launder money. But the thing about it is that it's pretty, it's not very incriminating. Like there's no big smoking gun in that. Like it's not like, oh, luxury apartments, ha ha ha, I've got you now, right? And there's, there's something a little bit mundane about it. Still, it seems like it's part of a very routine form of money laundering that they might be involved in. So maybe he's Hollister's laundering money for Lenko. There is something that catches your eye, however. It seems as if there was a change in the payment schedule. On the spreadsheet, one of the spreadsheet printouts in this stack of papers, in the back of the folder, describes the client sending a considerable sum of money to London via a Swiss account immediately, which would have raised alarm bells with financial watchdogs. I mean, you know that.
Right,
So
yeah.
somebody was very, very eager to get the money to London. And normally, you would assume that it's the client who is pushing to get the money into the laundromat. Like, we're laundering this drug money, right?
Like
And
it
there
has
was
to
like,
happen.
yeah, it was like so basically this massive amount of drug money looks like it came in not on the like there's a regular schedule of payments from Lenko laundering through into London, and there was a weird massive payment from Lenko probably Lenko, right, to the client, but there's something a little bit odd about it. It doesn't seem as if it was the client of Hollister who made this request. It seems it was Hollister, the broker, who made the request for this large influx of money. It's just the way you look at it, you know, using your accounting skill, you feel like there's this routine, and you're going to assume that a lot of this money is going through Hollister to the client, whoever this is. But this one very recent massive influx of cash, there are a couple of Hollister signatures on there that make you feel like Hollister is the one who wanted this money coming in rather than the client.
Yeah. Usually if it was the client, you get their signatures on the 60/40s, but Hollister signed them.
Yeah. Which is a little weird to you.
I assume there's nothing in these papers that looks like code. Like, can I use my
Cryptography?
Yeah, cryptography at all to see anything in here?
No. And I'm going to tell you something. These are not the kinds of papers that are worth for highly trained mob assassons.
Or the cost of this hotel, or for keeping Francesca here for 6 days, or correct. Any of that. This is far too mundane for...
It's pretty mundane. I mean, I would say most people would have just seen it and passed on. You did catch, because of your accounting. If you did not have that skill, you would not have caught this. But because of your accounting, you did catch that weird blip where Hollister seemed to have been like wanting a huge influx of cash for himself. But that's a really small detail that is not actually what the papers are about, right? Like, that detail is not... Hollister sent these papers over, right? So these papers are coming from Hollister. Right. So this is not like... it looks like it was probably a mistake in Hollister, or he didn't catch it, but it doesn't look like... The papers are just not interesting, right? They're just kind of like a nice... They're just like, I'm making luxury condos and probably overcharging so we can launder money. But if you don't know it, then you don't know it. And even if you did know it, it's not going to be proof of a smoking gun. It's not going to tell you where drugs are. It's not going to be able to let you arrest anybody. You know that. I mean, you have cop talk and chronology.
Need far more of a case.
Yeah, this is not a case at all. And it's not even good evidence. Like, it's evidence that you could use as a trained investigator to go follow the money, but this itself is no smoking gun. It's not even really particularly... doesn't even lead back to the client. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not particularly
Yeah.
interesting information. I mean, interesting for you because you found stuff in it, but
Right, but not nearly for. This is the interesting part of the fact of this is that it's not that interesting beyond
yeah,
knowing that Hollister was pushing for this.
yeah.
Not only was he pushing for this, he was pushing for this urgently. When
Very
did
recently.
the considerable sum of money that went to London from the Swiss account, did that happen within the last 6 days? Like, did that happen after
Nope.
Francesca arrived in Spain? Okay.
Before.
Is there anything in these ledgers
There's no reference to
that
her
are
at
from
all.
after? No, I'm not thinking
no.
about her. I'm thinking about timelines.
Oh yeah, no, actually not at all. I will say that, and I will note this, that the big influx of cash was about a month ago, maybe. Out of schedule.
Okay.
Like, there are
Okay.
regularly scheduled payments. This is an extra payment that's out of schedule. And it's a little bit buried in there. Like, you wouldn't really necessarily notice it. You would just, most people would just gloss over it. But yeah, it's
Wait, it was sent about a month ago.
mhm,
Now that I'm outside of the therapist's office, would that have been about the
mhm.
same time that I got ousted from Interpol?
Close. It's not too far off.
Before or after? Like, did this happen after I get ousted from Interpol or before?
This happened, let me think, because you had a vampire attack. So you would have, okay, this attack happened, where were you? You were in the States at the time, is that right?
Yeah, I was in the States because that's where Lana, Pete, that's where
mhm.
I was living.
Right. It happened the same time.
As the vampire attack?
Yes.
So the day after I got kicked out of Interpol,
Mhm.
the day of which was the vampire attack was 24 hours after I got kicked out of Interpol.
Yep.
Then all of this money gets sent to London to get cleaned.
Yes. The day of the vampire attack.
Okay.
Which is a thing. So the vampire was hanging out.
Has to be a thing.
Was hanging out visiting your friends. Meanwhile, a massive amount of money was
that's a different word.
Murdering was immediately transferred to the mysterious client.
It was transferred to the client, and Hollister was it was transferred to Hollister, and it was transferred to London.
It was transferred,
and Hollister had a heavy hand in it.
It was transferred to the client, but you think it probably was not transferred to the client, right? It normally gets. Hollister picked it up. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I will also note that the amount of money was much larger than normal, and it's the kind of amount of money that would normally ping financial watchdogs, which means it was a risk to do it, a kind of a desperate risk, right? Like, there was no reason to send a lot more money out of schedule, so much money that it's going to ping the authorities, and they're going to have to cover that up somehow. That was a very risky move that was done last minute, like in a not normal.
Not normal. Seems urgent and desperate.
Seems a little urgent and desperate. Yes.
Interesting.
And
okay.
It did happen the same time when your vampire friend was busy.
Interesting.
Because he was murdering your friends.
Friend is a
visiting
strong
your
word.
Friends.
Visiting is also an inappropriate word.
I mean, he did visit.
Okay, yeah, technically true. just like the big bad wolf visited Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Unaliving. Thank you, Max.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 So you seal it back up?
Okay. Yep. Absolutely. Everything's sealed back
Mm-hmm.
up. Come back out
Mm-hmm.
of the back room,
Mm-hmm.
profusely thanking Bella so much for saving my
Was,
hide.
was
Oh my
everything all
goodness.
right?
It was, yes, we were absolutely fine. Thank goodness. It's just, this job just gets to me.
That's all right.
Does it ever get to you?
Well, there's a really good disco I like to go to, so, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, not too far from Ibiza, and they go raving. You know, when I get time, they just don't give me too much time, you know?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely understand. I
Any-
hope you're able to get there tonight. You deserve it, after all.
Oh, she's coming, by the way. Miss Curtis, she's gonna come in. I had to message her about the package. She said she's coming back right away to get it.
Fantastic. Well, I don't want her to see me, so I appreciate the heads up, because
Oh.
then, of course, she'd know her mother and everything. So I'll see you later, Bella.
Of course. Have a nice evening.
Oh, thank you. You too.
And she goes back to her desk. And we are going to be ending in about 5 minutes, maybe. I need to know what you want to do before or after or during, because she is coming to pick up that package. That's slim, less incriminating than it needs to be. Also, not very exciting package for her. Do you know what I mean? Like, if she read that package, it wouldn't read much to her. You know what I mean? So again, it doesn't, I mean, you don't know how much she knows. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some questions about that.
But for all this waiting, the result is documenting of money laundering, perhaps. Although for me, far more interesting, because money was clearly sent around the same time that I was attacked, at the same day I was attacked, actually. Or not I was attacked, that Lena and Pete and Lee were attacked. Oh, Max is asking if I photocopied the package. Probably not, but yes, I would assume that Chrys took pictures with their phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay, I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
Francesca Curtis, you were how often were you following those Moroccan guys?
Following them, following her. Let's see. It's been what, 6 days at this point that we've been waiting around.
They were waiting around too, by
the
way. You both were.
Oh, that's so much waiting. I think any time that Chrys was not doing the research, they were probably following Francesca and the Moroccans.
I believe you said at one point in time in the evening you sort of like spent a little bit more time following them than her.
Yeah, that's right.
And you have notice.
I do.
They also make phone calls. Seems like they're just checking in. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
So they're clearly checking in with somebody as well. You would have picked up that, like, you know, they also make, you know, a couple burner calls, just not like you only catch it maybe twice. But, you know, they are
obviously
also waiting.
Burner phones.
Yeah. They're also waiting.
It's a lot of waiting for some information that does not have all that there is something else here that I do not have enough puzzle pieces to piece together yet. But there is something about the fact that Hollister had to get money into London the same night I was attacked.
Francesca Curtis arrives at the Hotel Historic in a bit of a rush. Where are you?
I think Chrys would be, so when I'm thinking of like a boutique hotel, I'm thinking there's like the fancy sort of desk area.
Oh, yeah.
And then like right beside, there's, you know, all these adorable little, like, you can sit in this old set of antique chairs, and you might get served high tea or something like that if you were to perchance order it from the hotel or have it prepared in. So I imagine there's a couple of different little like nooks around the
Yes.
lobby where people could sit because, in those older buildings, things were just
Yeah.
built a little smaller.
Yes.
And so I think Chrys is just sitting in one of those nooks
Absolutely.
with a cup of tea, and a great big book that they're holding up and reading as they wait for Francesca to arrive.
Oh, I should tell you one more thing about those papers. It's not a big deal.
Ooh.
They do need to be
believe you.
signed by Sam Lenko because they're about like investments in these luxury luxury hotels, luxury apartments. So he does have to sign this paperwork. So there's like a spot for him, for him to sign the paperwork. Just so you know, there's a signature spot. They have not yet been signed. So she arrives. She goes up. You can hear her yell at Bella. She's like, it's finally here. Good. You people are so lazy. I can't believe. Right? And then Bella brings out the folder. Francesca Curtis, with a brand new scarf, opens the folder, skims through the paperwork, nods as if, okay, it's all there. She doesn't look too carefully at it. She shuts the folder. She gets on the phone. She makes a phone call. You can't hear what she's saying.
Oh. What if I get up and meander that direction? Could I pick up on the phone call?
What skill would you like to use for this information gathering?
Oh, this is a good let's use cover.
Because this is to gather information, you do not have to roll for it. Right? You never roll to gather information. You can use your general abilities in the purpose of gathering information, right? So if there was if you had driving, you could use driving to get information about the taxi as well, right? So you can always use your non-information skills to get information the same way you would an information skill. Always. If it is relevant. Because this game is you get info, you get all the info. As you sort of meander by and cover, you hear her talking, and she says, Luciano, it's here. I don't know why it's taken so long, but it is here. All right, well, I'll wait for you here in the lobby if you're... Yes. Fine. I will be in the lobby. I will be waiting. Well, I do have to return the paperwork, so I will be coming with you. Yes. Yes, well, I have to... Go and ask your uncle, and he will tell you that I have to actually deliver the paperwork by hand. Great. All right, I'll be waiting for you. And she hangs up her cell phone. And she sort of just paces a little bit. And it's only 15 minutes before Luciano shows up, flanked by his two bodyguards. And he has got a rose that he probably bought from one of those cheap street vendors.
Like this guy.
Yeah, I know. It's actually very embarrassing.
He is.
Yeah.
Really.
And he's like, so I'm here to pick up the package. She's like, so I need to be brought to your uncle so that he may sign this paperwork, and then I can leave your company. And he says, and he hands her this rose, and she's like, so, it's your uncle's? He says, I don't always see my uncle, but I am going to see him tonight. As a matter of fact, we're going to a party. There's a fabulous party tonight where everyone will be dressed very well at a very private villa. very private, and perhaps if you have some sort of slinky dress, you might want to wear it for my uncle, perhaps, and you come with me to this party, and I will take you to my uncle, and he can sign the paperwork while we get to know each other better at this place. She just looks at him with daggers, and she says, my job is to get the paperwork signed and returned. If it's at a private villa, then so be it. He says, good. It is tonight. I will come back here to the hotel in, say, 2 hours. I expect you to be in your most alluring outfit, and I will be wearing what I am right now because I'm already dressed so well. And I will take you to this party for the signatures, and then afterwards, drinks. She's like, great. Wonderful. I will see you in 2 hours, Luciano. Then I can get out of this place. And she sort of like stalks up to her room, and he snickers, and he sort of heads out with his bodyguards. And as he's heading out with his bodyguards, you see one of the Moroccans in one of the corners of the lobby. And he nods, and you can see there's another Moroccan outside, nods back. And they seem to be very excited about the party as well.
Oh no. I hope I brought a fancy dress.
And my friend, that is where we end the session, because I know you have to go, but there is a party at a private villa that you do not know where it is. Most people do not know where it is, but Sam Lenko is going to be there. And Heather Curtis is going to head there herself in a limo that you have followed extensively over the last few days, as have the Moroccans.
I really, safe to assume I could get my hands on like a nice suit. I guess that's a question for next
absolutely.
week.
Sure.
Okay. I think Chrys would wear a fantastically nice suit for whatever comes next. I mean, like, real sharp. Real,
the question
like...
is, how are you going to get to this party?
Oh, I have ideas. But we'll find out next week. Oh, I do.
We'll find out next week. This will be the first time anyone has been in the presence of Sam Lenko, who doesn't know, who's not been invited to in a very long time. Because he's very, very elusive and very private and a little paranoid. Maybe a lot paranoid. Nobody knows where he is most of the time. But now, you know, more or less, how to get to him.
Isn't that fun?
I guess those 4 Moroccans also know how to get to him.
I'm betting that they're following for murder.
I don't know. All I know is, it's those papers, isn't it? It's those papers.
You know, some interesting things happening with those papers. Some very interesting things.
Maybe
taking my wig off because it is quite tight.
And that's our session for today. When we get back next week, next Sunday, we have a party to go to. A party where the man that our protagonist has been surveilling for over 2 years will be. Prometheus, Agent Prometheus, has not been able, no one's been able to see Sam Lenko. This is a person who, I don't know whether or not they blame Lenko for the trouble that they've been in or not. I have no idea. But it is this case that got them drummed out, getting too close. Was it too close to Lenko? I mean, you'd been surveilling Lenko and working on Lenko for a long time and nothing happened. It wasn't until you got the Infinity Ledger that things went real bad, real fast.
like
Real bad.
24 hours real fast.
Real
And
fast.
murder real fast.
And murder real fast. Which is weird. But nonetheless, next week, a party. And maybe travel to another country. Who knows where you're going to go? You might go anywhere.
Mm-hmm. The world's my oyster.
I wonder what's going to happen at that party. I wonder who's there. I wonder what they're thinking about. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what secrets they have. I wonder... But you know what? I wouldn't worry about it.
I'm sure it's nothing.
I wonder why Hollister wanted a huge amount of money, all weird. It's a wedding. Australia's place notes. It's a wedding, so that's cool. That's it.
No, not another wedding.
Turns out there's this really cool person named Tarika who's getting married. Yes, it's good times crossing the streams. So everybody, I want to thank first off all of you all in the audience who have been here for our first bit. This is, you know that slow burn opening when you're like, oh, a mundane thing, and then you're like, very mundane, and we're going to go to a party, which will also be very mundane, and nothing bad is going to happen because those 4 guys who are clearly armed to you are clearly not here for any nefarious reasons.
Definitely not. And I'm sure this is going to be fine. Capital F-I-N-E. Fine.
Yeah. I think it'll be fine, right? I mean, but also, you know, party.
Let's not
Party.
kill Chrys. Let's have Chrys survive for a little while. I kind of like Chrys.
So here's the thing that I should share with you and the audience. In this game, you generally speaking cannot die until the end of the operation.
Ha ha!
I don't know if you should be too excited about that. In many games, you could just die. In this one, that's not exciting if you just die before the end of the operation, so you probably won't. I mean, it's possible if you threw yourself off a cliff or something, certainly. But generally speaking, you probably won't die before the end of the operation.
Chrys is unlikely to throw themselves off a cliff. Yeah, there's a, hey.
You might get captured, which could be awkward. You might get a problem, like a problem card that says something like you're bleeding profusely. And if you still have this card at the end of the operation, you die. You might get one of those. That's certainly a thing. Or if you don't fix this problem real fast, you're just going to die. So you're going to have to like go to the hospital or something, or else it'll be really bad for you. And while you're going to the hospital, well, other people will be doing other things. So anyhow, yeah.
Oh no. I can't wait to use my edges. I think they will be very valuable. Very, very valuable in this game.
Yeah. If the operation's in 2 days, then what happens is that you bandage yourself up and you keep leaking slowly because you're not fixing the problem, because you're avoiding fixing the problem.
I've never done that with any of my characters. I've never done that. I'd never avoid fixing a problem for dramatic reasons.
Only death by cliffhanger or plot twist then.
Exactly.
Or suicide. Like if the player's like, I shoot myself in the head, like, okay, well then you're dead. Okay. But generally speaking, you get cards that signal that unless you take care of this, you're going to die. Things like, if you don't get rid of this card by the end of the game, the vampires eat you. Things like that, like just some kind of a thing.
Exactly.
You usually get like a heads up. So I would like to say thank you everybody for being here. I'm really excited to continue this for next week. Or you don't get to say anything yet because I have to ask you your outro question. Thank you everybody for being here. So excited. I'm going to do my outro really quick so then we can just end you. Today is what? Sunday? Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern on the Wandering Inns channel on YouTube. Their YouTube channel, I'll be in Overgrown. And then the next RPG I'm going to be in is on Wednesday at 8 p.m. at Laugh Love Lindy for Good Society, Reading Between the Lines. And then Friday, 7 p.m. on my channel, 7 p.m. Eastern, I will either be doing one more go as Testocles the Ballsy in my 2d6 dungeon crawl, The Trials of Testocles, or I'll do something else. We'll find out. I can't say yet because I have to look at assets. And then the next RPG, of course, will be back here for more of this. We are going to we're going to go to a party, and I suspect London is in the future of our agent. Because I suspect that they probably have some questions that may only be answered by Hollister. We'll see. We'll see. So that's where you can find me. I want to thank you all for being here. This has been really, really exciting, and I'm so excited for more things to come. But I want to really end with, I hope you all audience enjoyed it. I want to end with having Ari introduce who they are, where we can find them. And then I would like, if you would, I would love for them to answer this question. This is your first time playing Gumshoe 1-to-1. What did you think? I gave a little bit of a tutorial of the mechanics. I always think it's important for the audience to know what the mechanics are, so they know that there are mechanics underlying all that RP, that if they did not have the skill, they would not get the info. Like, they have to actually use a skill, and then they can get the info, and I'm going to give them all of the info. I'm going to give them more info than they need, and they're going to have to figure out what's most important from that info. And but they have to use their skills. But I'm always on the lookout for when they do. And also, sometimes they need pushes. They only have one push left. Sometimes you have to roll. And sometimes you might have to roll real soon. Maybe starting real soon when we start real soon. Anyhow, to you, what do you think about being in, what do you think about Gumshoe 1-to-1? And what do you think about your character? And what do you think about what's going on? And also, where are you? Where can we find you? Who are you?
Hello, I'm Ari _Ventures. You can find me online. You can find me here on Sundays. I almost said Saturdays. On Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And you can also find me live in Seattle. There are 2 shows that are about to open. One is called Mouth Wide Shut. It is a completely mimed show. So if you want to see a completely improvised and also completely mimed show, come on down to Unexpected Productions. We're on Fridays and Saturdays. And then I think I'm in the Saturday show of that opening weekend. And then the other show that I'm in is called Impossible Loves. And it's all about if the supernatural fell in love with the mundane, in a world where the supernatural has to hide their supernatural ability in some way, shape, or form. What does that look like? And how do people work in that sort of space? So that's been really fun to rehearse. We had one where the character was able to see the future a little bit. And that turned into a really interesting piece where, like, a fake psychic showed a real psychic how to love the person that's been in front of them the whole time that they've been, like, protecting and taking care of. It's very, very sweet show. And okay, so I really had a lot of fun with this. I was very intimidated by the idea of doing a 1-to-1. I always am. But, like, this has been so much fun. And the way that we're able to just, like, progress and go, okay, so here's what I'm thinking about. Here's the next question that I think makes sense to ask. Like, and then the information that comes out of that leading to more questions and more answers. And then always wondering if I'm asking the right questions, is such a thing that sits in the back of my mind constantly. I think somebody, Max, maybe at one point pointed out, was like, oh, sorry to backseat RP. Not at all. Feel free to say whatever you want in chat. It will either be something that I think matches for Chrys, or it won't, and we'll go from there. Like, I'm going to try and stick really true to this character, what they care about, who they are, while solving crimes and being badass, because I think that's a lot of fun. But honestly,
I will say
Trooper,
something.
like,
I will say something.
oh, what? Yes.
Max said, I get ideas and I want to help. And so here's the thing. This is there's a really great section of GM advice for running 1-to-1 games. And they said that 1-to-1 games are really much more emotionally taxing than, like, a regular game. And one of the reasons why is because in a regular game, the player can ask other players for ideas, right? So,
Yeah.
like, you can be like, oh, well, what do you think? And then, like, somebody can, like, put in an idea. And in a one-to-one game, you can't, right? I mean, luckily, we actually do have some people in chat who can throw out some ideas for you. But normally, like now, it's just on you. Now you can always talk to your
Therapist?
therapist to like talk to things. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. Your therapist to talk through some stuff, but you know, it's a bit more intense, right? Because you don't really get that. You don't get the. You know what I mean? So and so I thought they gave some really good ideas about how to like help manage that, and also you know, somebody gives you an idea. You're a trained agent, and you think the idea is good, then you use it. That's what I say. Go ahead, continue on.
Excellent. That is also how I feel because, like, sure, I'm not all seeing because I have not lived in this person's
Mm-hmm,
shoes, but I
mm-hmm.
will. My aim is to always hold true to what the character would do, much like I try and do with. I see all the references to
Yeah,
Terrica in here, much like I try to
yeah,
do with Terrica, right? Like,
yeah.
even if I'm like, this is a really stupid idea and they should not do this. Well, too bad. This is what that character would do, and here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I don't die.
You're gonna be able to get to go to a party, maybe, with Sam Lenko. Isn't that exciting?
I'm actually very excited by that. Although I'm not sure I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get there. I have like 3 ideas right now about how I'm going to get there.
Mm-hmm,
And we'll
mm-hmm.
find out which one I end up choosing next week. But big thank you to you for all of the setup that you've done and like not only in terms of like helping me with like okay, these are all the rules, but also like this roll 20 setup is so cool. So, thank you.
Uh, in case audience, I know that you can't tell, but what you are seeing right now is not an overlay. So you are not actually seeing an overlay. Normally, when you watch a show like this, right on Twitch, there's an overlay that we put into OBS, and then we can. But you're actually just looking at Roll20. So I created an overlay and I put it in Roll20. So it's not in OBS, it's in Roll20, and then I'm putting ourselves. So basically, I want you to be able to see everything that happens in Roll20, and so I've turned Roll20 into our overlay. So that's what you're watching, which I'm excited about. But the one thing you have to watch out for is that because this is Roll20, I have to watch out for moving this. I cannot move the Roll20 screen around because if I do, then it looks like that. But I'm gonna go and make a roll. I'm gonna make a roll button for you. I'm gonna make a button that will refresh all of your dice, and I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be there by next week.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
I'm gonna make more in there. It's gonna be really good. I've decided. Um, yeah, I
That's
hope
so
you had a good
exciting.
time. I hope you had a good sense of like you did a quick test, you did like a regular challenge, you've used your investigative abilities, you had to spend some pushes, you got some pushes back, you got some edges. So I feel like you've got a good handle. You've used a stunt. I feel like you've got a good handle on
Thank
all
you.
the mechanics of the game, actually.
Thank you. I'm very excited to keep playing with them because I think there's a lot that is going to be needed for the next. I think I'm going to need to do a lot more stunts in this
Mm-hmm.
next
Mm-hmm.
round round session.
Yes. Session. I'm gonna just
There's a
there.
different word I'm
There we
looking
go.
for there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, my friends, um, you said where we can get you. You said, I think this is us. So please do come back next Sunday when um, this adventure, which is called No Grave for Traitors. Why is it called that? Who knows? Why is that the name of the adventure? Nobody knows. I mean, I know. I guess you'll find out. Um, Here's some questions. Why does Hollister want a huge amount of money? And why did Hollister wait until the night of a vampire attack to try to get that money into London? What is the relationship between what's going on with this paperwork? Why is it there? What's happening? Why was it delayed 6 days? Why did it take so long for it to get there? There are a lot of questions we could ask. A lot of questions we could ask. How much money has our accountant spent on their therapist?
I think no money.
You check your bank account?
I really should. I really should.
Yes. But you know what, though? It probably, if you don't find any records of you spending money on that therapist, it makes sense because the therapist is probably paid for by your work.
I mean, that's what I would assume, but I
Yeah,
shouldn't I
yeah,
be getting well, but they wouldn't even know where to send the bills because
yeah.
nobody knows where I am.
Yeah. I'm sure work is paying for it, right?
Sure, the
Yeah.
work that burned me. Mhm. Yep,
Right.
that
Yeah,
one.
that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The one that sent people to arrest. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure they're just still paying for the therapist. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There might be a lack of. I'm just looking to see who we can raid because I feel like we should definitely raid people
We should
because
rate.
that
Yes.
is the way to go. Okay, so it turns out that
100%.
Winter's Tales is doing thirsty sword lesbians, so we're gonna raid them. That's what we're gonna do. Um,
Yay!
yeah, BP Phantom knows that even though you're burned, you do get to stay on benefits for 2 months. So
That's
there's
an
like
excellent point.
yeah, you've just got really they wouldn't take away your health insurance. Who would do that? That'd be terrible.
I
Uh,
yeah, in what
yeah,
country would you possibly lose your health insurance because you lost your job?
yeah, and also you're New Zealander, so I think you're fine. I think you'll be fine.
Oh,
I wouldn't.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
Oh my
actually
god.
that was one of my best, healthcare experiences was in New Zealand. Anyway, that's all. Thanks,
There you
guys.
go. You're a Kiwi, so you can definitely go to this therapist that you're definitely going to in real life,
For
100%
realsies,
for
outside of my
realsies.
head.
Definitely not inside your head because that would be weird. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you everybody for being here. We're going to raid. We're gonna raid Winter's Tales. So give them some love when we get there, and thank you all for being here. And I don't yet know the title of our episode. What's the title of our episode?
Oh. Oh.
Chat, let me know
Um,
what the title of our episode is.
yeah.
Bye, everybody.